to the stream. Welcome, 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 welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are here to play some golf with friends tonight. It's actually quite dark in here. Let me see if I can turn this up a little bit. But yeah, we're here to play some golf with friends, and I'll let me go get the crowd. Thank you guys for jumping in and lurking and listening. We have Crowley, we have Tifa. Yes, Tifa, you can join. And Michigan, thank you so much for the sub. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Much appreciated. And Shane, welcome to the stream. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Is the bot not working? There it goes. I was gonna say, why isn't the bot doing its job? I don't know. We'll see, we'll see. Bots be bots. But let me go grab the team. Let me find myself. I don't know where I'm at. Welcome! Finally, hi! Finally! Welcome! Welcome, welcome, welcome. Bacon Media. Skaken Bacon Media? Is that how you say that? I hope I got it right. I hope I got it right. Words are hard. Hi everybody! Welcome, welcome, welcome. You're live. I hope you can hear me. I gotta turn down my music, I think, so I can hear myself think. There. Then I gotta adjust the volumes, make sure we're all good so I can hear you guys. Say something, Michigan!
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello! Welcome, welcome. Everybody's name's messed up tonight. Like, I have a letter and ... Discord's being weird.
Maybe we all switched our names.
Oh god, you did. First time, well done. But use Marcus? Okay, Marcus. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You know exactly, you know, except with me. Yay! Well, welcome, Marcus. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Whoever you are, whatever you're called.
Yeah. We are gonna play some golf with friends tonight.
Heck yeah.
You guys are down. Down to play.
With balls.
Without the blush,
I timed myself
peace,
for the,
game controller, Max and he. Ah! Ew. So Marcus, not Bacon. Not Bacon. Or Bacon Media. When I comment on your YouTube? Oh, let me go look. Is your name the same on, what is your name on YouTube? Is it, I'm so confused now.
Kimono confusion.
This is normal. This is really normal. I think.
Marcus used confusion. It was very effective.
100%. 100%. Definitely.
Guess what I did. I don't want to say it out loud because you know
Oh.
who's coming up, right?
Yes. Yes. I am in the know on the things and the stuff. Does that work?
Luckily he's not in my stream watching.
Right. Not right this second, right? Rainbow, okay, Rainbow Bacon. Okay. Rainbow Bacon pick. Okay. That makes sense.
Only up.
I recognize images. I'm a very visual person. I'm
don't
crazy.
say with your paintings.
I mean, yeah, artist. It might have something to do with it, just a little bit. I wouldn't know. Oh, what do you have?
Sam Summer.
I have Malibu Splash, Strawberry, and Coconut. I've never had these, so
I have a conch. Ooh, I'll take some of that, please.
You have Coke.
I don't know what this tastes like, and I've never had one, so we're gonna find out. I kind of want to be like bougie and get a straw and be weird.
Bougie. Oh, last week I hit my 500 goal, my first 500 goal.
Yay! I'm so happy for you. That is awesome. Okay, keep making the world better, happier as you never know whose life you'll change for the better, even if you don't know that you did. It's what and why I say the things I say. You are an amazing human being.
You are.
Yay. That is awesome. Thank you so much.
Let me know if there are
Thank
too many dog
you.
noises. The doggo is roaming very close to me.
Oh, doggo is good. I don't hear doggo.
Okay.
I have-
I want to see my doggo.
The password is the same. It's always been whispers. No, you can't do that to me, Momo. You can't do that to me, Momo. You can't whisper.
Oh,
There we go. You're
no,
special.
no, oh God.
I'm having supper at Arby's currently. Mmm. Nom 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 nom.
Yay, I entered the password.
Saw you were on, wanted to type my thank you. I appreciate it. That's super, super sweet. Thank you. Huh?
Oh God. Nope, that's not the password. God.
Yeah. Yeah, the password's the same in lowercase.
No. I'm going too slow. I'm going too slow.
Dang, golf with friends. I don't know why it does that. There's a time limit to type your password in.
There we go, finally. There we go.
I'm also high social as SB Marcus, so you know. Okay. That is good to know, because I get people's names all mixed up. Dang games. Haha. Hi, artist. What are you up to? Lovely. Hi, Sixer. Shh. Bro. I'm actually wearing my Pride IDIC shirt too. No worries. Sweet. I shame Steam Uno doesn't have a big multiplayer game. Steam Uno? There is a Steam Uno, but I don't know how many players can play.
It's
Batman!
And it's only up to 4 players.
Yeah, oh, I'm sorry, it's a beer. I promise.
Only 4? Jeez. Redeem purple cat ears? Yes! You have a beautiful voice. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Purple
When
cat
I'm not
ears.
coughing and sneezing from allergies. I don't sound like, you know, I got a frog in my throat. Then we're doing good.
To your left?
Huh?
Is that an Eevee to your left?
Yeah, that's my Eevee painting. That one's Pikachu. And then the other way is Eevee, yes.
Oh, that's a cute Pikachu.
Yeah, this is my Eevee painting. So,
Oh my
Sometimes
God,
I paint.
that's so cute.
sometimes.
Sometimes I
Okay.
do things.
Can you
Yeah.
make me a painting and send it to me?
I do prints is what I do. I do giveaways of prints of the paintings. Like, I just ordered more Eevee prints actually. I wonder what they look like, how they turn out.
I'm
You guys want to
excited.
see?
I'm
You wanna
excited
see?
for when I'm able to get mine from the charity.
Yes, yes. I had to order extras of them.
Yeah.
So I got them like yesterday actually. So I'm excited to see how they turn out.
Heck yeah.
I haven't seen how your Captain Jack turned out yet.
Alright, hold on.
Oh, you haven't finished it yet.
What's the,
I didn't realize I could redeem ears.
Here from backup.
Ah. Okay, but yes. Oh, these turn out good. Look at these. Those are the prints.
Oh my God, that's so cute.
That's the prints of the Eevee painting. So the prints turn out really good. So they're 5x7s.
I sent you a DM. That's what I get for my rewards for having my donations going.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm already
Oh.
on tier 3, which is
Damn.
guess what it is?
What is it?
A Tamagotchi.
Oh, that's so cool.
God.
That's awesome. That's cool. I see that.
Yeah, my next one is a tier 4, $1,000 supply crate sponsorship.
Well, I'm glad your donations are going so well. Oh, look, I've already get the
Yeah.
Pika from.
Alright.
Right now, my next goal is $700, which is in
And
another
this is how-
$199.
This is how the Pika prints turned out.
Pika.
I wanna see,
Yeah.
I wanna see.
Kawaii, pokecatch football. I forgot. Anywho, to one of the most amazing, beautiful, intelligent, and most wonderful human beings to be born onto this spinning blue marble through space on the words are hard, inexorable path around the solar entity. Keep making the world a more better place. I sure think you do. Thank you so much. Appreciate you greatly, Kat. Make it magnificent. Thank you so much. Thank you for your inspirational, kind words. And I will keep doing what I do. And yeah, I'll keep trying to be the best version of myself for everybody.
Speaking of best versions, let's play with balls.
Yes! Let's go. Who's ready?
I'm trying to get drunk.
Wait, where is my game? There it goes. It was a little slow. Where's my game? Where's my game? BRB, I wanted to make prints, but I don't have the time. Yeah, it took me a while to figure out the best way to get prints, and then sometimes color correcting has to be an issue, so sometimes you have to change them. And awesome ears, Cat. Thank you. Thank you, Marcus. Thank you. And then, yeah.
Real balls.
I have rainbow ones too.
Yeah.
I have rainbow ones too. So, those are cute too. Alright, let's go. We're on the forest, we got the things and the stuff. We're gonna hit start.
We have jump.
Yes. We got all the things and stuff.
I hope so.
All the things and stuff. So you're saying is that I can knock my balls into other people's balls while I
Yes, you can rub them together.
Oh,
Yeah.
You guys have fun, but not too much fun. Just kidding.
Oh, Michigan.
Yeah, no. We're off to a great start already.
Yeah, we're just rubbing together.
I failed like the perfect easy hole in one.
Same.
I failed.
Same.
Mhm,
I got
I
mhm.
have 2 strokes.
Hmm.
We all did.
I wonder if I should turn on this
We're
camera
all 2 strokes.
or this light.
heck yeah.
Ah, I'm blind.
Fuck, I failed that one.
I found a light. I'm blind now.
Oh, I was so close to a hole in one.
Hole in one.
Gosh, diggity darn.
Okay. If you like coconut and you like strawberries, this is really good. This is gonna be dangerous.
This is
Good thing I only have one of them in my house. Because this is huge. This is 24 ounces. At 5% alcohol. So.
Ah!
Come on, no, come hit me.
I tried to hit you, but I failed.
That's better. Hit me, baby, one more time.
Hit me with your best shot.
Damn
Hit
it.
me with the best shot.
Mm-hmm. Do it.
So getting the highest number is how you win, right?
Yes.
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 And if you get 6 to 9, you automatically win.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. That was like painfully slow.
Ramp!
You shot me.
Raging Tank just decided to freaking just go. Whoosh.
I don't know who ran over me, but I got hit pretty hard there.
Raging Tank.
That might have been me. It might have been me.
It's okay.
I ended up like almost full sending it, and the paddle made it so that my ball went up the paddle like a ramp.
Oh my.
Launch.
Oh my. Alright, we're gonna. Ooh, yeah. Here. Hole in one.
Oh, yes! I also got a hole in one. You could probably tell by the excitement. song "Bye Bye Bye" stuck in my head. What the heck?
Bye, bye, bye.
Bye, 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 bye. Again.
I don't remember how much heat to give that. More than that, apparently. Don't do what I did.
Full power.
Oh,
I was just kidding about the full power. Don't do it.
don't do it yet. Oh, tank! Killing me! Murder!
And dead.
Tank is murdering me. Go, Tango! I heard murder, I was coming back. Yes, yes, you did.
Me.
Good Afro, welcome to the stream. If I didn't say so already, welcome, 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 welcome.
We're getting drunk.
Welcome, welcome,
Don't
welcome.
actually. Don't do that. Ain't no lie, baby. Bye, 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 bye. It's gonna be oh. I'm gonna want to slap my head.
Mm.
Alright, let's see. Even though I am not straight,
Sure.
whether I can shoot straight or not.
Can we do it? Can we do it? No, we messed up. Somebody's gonna have to hit me.
Let me bounce.
Hit me, please.
Gosh,
I'll try kimono.
Yep.
Whoops.
Oh, wrong way, wrong way, wrong way.
I tried.
Oh no, now I'm back where I was.
I am here now.
Welcome back.
I tried.
It's okay. It's all good. It's all good.
5 strokes.
Let's see.
Yeah. I love how everyone just went quiet.
Hello.
Joined in.
Oh.
That's a very good tune. I love that tune. No, Zach does the exact same thing whenever I get into Blackout. So,
I'm drinking beer, so don't even touch.
who what now?
I'm drinking beer, so that's why I'm burping so much.
As long as you are happy.
I still got 4 somehow. Yes.
Do you know something funny? Or say something funny. To me, it's funny.
Nothing's funny.
My manager at 2 o'clock says you can just go. So after your lunch, you can just go home. I was like, oh, you don't have.
Oh!
I'll go home now.
So I've been telling like everybody, I think, that from 2 o'clock I've been sitting here in front of the computer playing Call of Duty, and then after that we just enjoy news. So
Nice.
from 2 o'clock, actually that's a lie. It will
Feel like a kid again.
3 o'clock I'm here drinking.
Those are so good, artist.
Come
I
again.
want a Lunchable. Artist has Lunchables.
Artist has a Lunchable?
Yeah.
Those are so good.
I need that!
They're so good.
Like
I have a single. Nice.
Yeah, Tank, that's the next one.
Looks
fill,
like nobody got my left.
fill me in the gap. What's artist? Is artist just like
He's an artist.
Alright.
She's an artist.
what the fuck's the
What?
franchise that you're talking about?
No, she's
Oh, Lunchables is like this little
Oh, that.
kid's like
No,
snack
No,
tray
I-
with like 4 little squares, and it has like ham and cheese and crackers.
no, I
It's
get
for
that.
kids. I guess.
No, I understand what that is, but like I thought that you had that like delivered to you
Nah.
by a specific company, and that was
Uh-uh.
No.
artist.
That's something that you would buy in a grocery store.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, artist has one. She's in chat and she's talking about them.
okay.
Oh!
Me?
I almost
I am
bumped
sometimes.
into Chicken Skull.
Okay, I moved as quick as possible.
Oh, hey now. Oh!
Whoa,
Rim job.
whoa.
Let's try
I was about to
something.
say your ball looked like it was in, but then it went out.
Lady,
What? What?
Starting to fall.
What you call me?
Yelling doesn't mean that lady is here.
You're right.
I'll be honest with you. For every time that I've been here, Lindy's always been there. Just like fucking.
It's true. She's gonna be late today. She said so.
Okay. So what game are you playing right now?
Golf
And
with
I can
friends.
Golf with friends. Golf. All the golf.
I'm gonna regret. Oh!
Don't start crying, Dream.
Oh,
Too late.
Fuck.
yeah.
Show me where I have to go.
Yes.
Thor, welcome.
Hello.
Hello, welcome, welcome, welcome.
We got the kimonos
Welcome,
fucking
welcome.
cat there.
What?
So where do I have to go? I have to fucking just play the game and then I'll catch you there.
Yeah, you can play the game, and then once we start the next round of holes, you can join. We've already started the 18 holes, though. So you have to wait until we have finished.
And what hole are you on?
Good question.
None of your business.
4. Yeah.
I'm very interested in holes.
I could tell.
What hole do you want?
I'm a whole connoisseur.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, God.
Same. Cheers.
Cornelio. Welcome, Dragon.
Lemon.
Welcome, Dragon Parker. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Okay,
Oh, it's Lemon.
Yes, lemon.
Lemon.
cool. So
Dragon's also green.
if
I saw the green. Well, it looks green on mine. Hi, Lemon.
Lemon.
You're muted, Lemon.
You
I
muted.
know, I'm
No,
trying to
it-
get through his.
Oh.
Yeah. It works. We can hear you.
Where? What?
Ah!
No, I'm pointing.
been
Like,
where?
When, where, and why?
Where?
This is bad. I'm doing great.
I went
Mhm.
backwards.
Eagle!
See.
I went.
Ah! I'm trying.
I saw that.
I was trying some trick shots and it just was not a good idea. We're just gonna go the long way and use up all our turns. Ah!
Okay, go right ahead,
We're-
Kimono.
We're trying to secure last place.
Yeah.
This is how you secure last place.
Jumps. No, I'm in last place. You're
Yeah,
ahead of me
Kimono,
by
you're
3.
losing.
I'm winning at being the loser. Let's go.
Hell, you have to win at something.
Rose, are you glad to be home after all your stuff and traveling?
yes.
Can I ask you one question? Is anyone going to be online?
No place like home.
Not me.
When?
Probably not until later on.
Regardless of what time.
Oh,
Is
What
anyone
the
going
hell,
to be
Crowley?
online
What you
tomorrow?
that was a mistake.
Thanks for the lyric, Matthew. Welcome. That's such a cute emote. Welcome, 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 welcome.
Hey, did I use a self-promotion, Kimono?
I'm going to play.
I'll give you a shout out.
Yeah, cause I did. Okay, I did self-promote here.
There you go. It's okay. Let's see. I told you you could join. I figured you were streaming. Light up cat ears. Yes.
Cause I'm doing the whole month of June for a stack up, so
Yeah, you can let people know about your fundraiser.
yeah, this is my 3rd month going on it. I have already raised 500.
Albatross.
Ooh. I has.
So I already
But
raised
one?
$500. Right now my goal to raise for June is $1,000.
Wow, why did you set it so high?
Well, that was when I set it for my birthday stream.
But you've done really well.
Yeah.
No.
And the stack up crew is so happy about me. So
Well,
They're
that's
the
cool.
ones that send gaming stuff to people deployed overseas, right?
yes. Well, it's for veterans actually. For veterans. So that means they were deployed overseas. So like they're no longer in the military anymore.
You know, I know what veterans means, but I'm just curious as to how they like provide that shit.
It's supply crates, like video game crates to them.
Ta-da.
Alright, shoot.
Okay.
Choking on
Do you-
wine?
Do you take a a profit, or the people that you're working with take a profit?
I don't take a profit whatsoever.
And
No, I guess straight to it through Tiltify, right?
So how do you make your money?
have-
Like, how do you make your
Or something
your
similar.
wage if you're giving these things
Mono,
out?
scene.
Well, I do have a donation
Oh.
on my Twitch page too. They can donate to me.
I wanted to make sure you saw me put on the light up ears and then I forgot to change it back.
Just generally curious.
Oh, being a blonde.
So you work full time.
Nani?
I work full time.
I now have the Nani? Yes.
I'm on vacation today.
Oh, Elvish and Monstrosity called the Pokemon. Welcome to the stream, Elvish. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Come on, Michigan. Let's go. He can't even handle Rowley. Nope, there he goes. Run, boy!
B-double-E-double-R-U-N. Beer run.
What, are we all trying to lose now? I think we're all trying to lose.
I have never heard a response like that. Like, you hard, you can. That fucking hard. That's so good. That's so good.
It came with chocolate Teddy Grahams. Be jealous? I'm totally jealous. You said chocolate, and then you said Teddy Grahams.
Hold on a minute.
Chocolate
Hold
Teddy
on.
Grahams
Oh,
is
hey.
disgusting.
Shut
you
the
want
fuck
M&M?
up for a minute.
No.
Hold on.
Right?
Someone said
go.
chocolate Teddy Grahams?
Yes. They're so good.
That is a thing?
Yes. They're little chocolate bears made out of graham cracker flavored with chocolate. So yeah.
Rob, have you been living under?
Yeah, it's called Scotland. Scotland.
Yeah, it's called Scotland. So it is a giant rock, right?
Oh, wait, what's
Drink
the-
water. Okay.
It's English.
So like whaling stone or whatever.
Got you.
You mean you're
Water acquired.
done?
There was like 4. I saw we. I'll buy everyone a box. Yes. And share a box.
Guys, can somebody just flip that? I just got a hole in one that I was trying.
Oh,
Ah,
Yeah.
stop!
Can I join on any of this, or am I?
No,
not
you
yet.
can't.
You can
You
watch
have
on
to- You
stream.
have to finish.
Yeah, you can watch them both streams actually, mine and Kimono's.
Yeah.
Let us finish, and then you can get on the next hole.
Dream is over here only eating Maltesers.
I can't see because the
Chill
box is in the way.
Shut the fuck up, yeah. That's
Oh
how
my
I
god.
feel with Maltesers. It's like, get the fucking box out the way and I can eat all the Maltesers.
I don't like Maltesers, they're too hard.
They're like, oh, fuck, what are they called? Not milk duds, Whoppers.
Whopper, 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 Junior, Double, Triple, Whopper.
Oh, fuck.
Because
Ah.
Have it your way. You rule.
I'll be honest with you, I'm
Yo.
there's,
Let's
there's
go.
my participation in karaoke.
There it is.
I'll be honest with you.
Ah, too much, no.
I don't know.
Don't die, don't die.
I died.
Oh yeah.
There we go. This was the 18th hole, by the way, guys. We're about at the end. Oh, now it's gonna start thunder and lightning. Great.
To glorb.
Oh no.
So if my stream goes down, it's because of the weather. Just so you know, I'll drink some water to that. Woohoo!
Hyperventilating.
I'd hold you to that, artist. I want some ice cream.
Oh!
I have ice cream too. I could eat ice cream.
Ah, baby!
Or take. Hey, baby.
You got Ben and Jerry's.
I have Klondike bars. I have the mint chocolate chip ones and the Reese peanut butter ones.
What would you do for a Klondike bar?
Not much.
I
Yeah.
miss those commercials, so I do miss.
Every time they're like, I don't usually buy them, but then I'll go into like Publix and they're buy one get one free. So then you have to get 2 packs. You're like,
So you spend
free
money.
ice cream. Like, yeah, you spend $5 and you get one for free. You can't help it.
But
That's
now
so
you
much
spend
cheaper than going-
$5, you know,
Yeah.
I see Kitty on Lemon Drop Street on Lemon Drop.
Well, it saves me because next time I want to go to Sonic or Dairy Queen or anywhere to get ice cream, I won't. I'll go, hey, don't go spend $5 at Sonic or Dairy Queen. You've got plenty of ice creams in the
I get a
freezer,
pirate
so.
hat.
What,
Somehow.
what if you really want something better?
Then I'll go get it. Because I'm bad.
Purple life raft. I might have to
Detective Cap.
hold the dog every once in a while because he has a spot on his foot that he keeps licking.
No, poor baby.
It's like a
Okay, you guys can join.
Camera.
What is the
Well,
corrupted
let me see if I
forest?
can.
Let's
Oh,
see.
it's...
Oh, it's a new one. We can play it. It's really hard. It's stupid hard.
Nope, because I'm using my camera on my screen.
I am going to pop out for now.
Okay. Alright, good luck.
Just join off of me.
No, you have to go
Oh,
up
Kimono.
Kimono. You have to join the game when you push on Kimono.
Mm-hmm.
You've done
Let's
this.
see.
I am going
Invite.
off for now just because I'm getting a little sleepy. I might go to bed.
Okay, alright, good luck. Thanks for playing.
2.5 hours of sleep last night, so I'm a little sleepy.
Wow.
Yay.
Well, yeah.
Motherfucker.
Okay, bye.
Yeah.
You're already in here. Let's see. Why is this thing being weird?
What's the kitty cat?
Shane, are you joining too? I saw you join I saw you jump on. You're joining? Okay.
You're muted, Lemon.
I know. I'm using Thor's mic.
Yeah, they're in the same room.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, I didn't hear the name.
Oh, his name's Crowley.
Oh.
And we
Just
got
take too much
Thor and Remus around here somewhere.
Oh, Thor's right here.
Well, other Thor.
I know. It's
Not the real Thor.
Oh, you're a fake Thor. Oh.
Let's see.
Just click on my name.
Yeah, your kitty's like, give me all the attention.
Oh yeah,
Attention whore.
that's him.
Well, I wish I could show my camera, but I still have a dog waiting for me at home right now.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hold on, I think I know how I can do it.
Then obviously the password.
Alright.
The password's still still the same.
Yeah, so we're waiting on Dreams and Shane to join, and then we'll be ready.
There you go.
Kimono.
So Shane's joining too.
Joined the orgy.
Oh yeah. I love that.
The golf orgy.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ball touching.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Slap balls. Slap balls.
anything you should take from my personality, love a good orgy. Love a good orgy.
Who doesn't?
Whoever wants to see my dog, go into pictures and pets
Yeah.
on Kimonos.
Like, we're talking fucking golf clubs.
Might have to zoom it in a little bit.
tees.
Yeah, I like to at least do 18 holes.
At least do it.
Yeah.
At least you get yourself. At least you get yourself.
That's her
fucking
favorite
familiar.
spot.
You know what I mean?
So cute.
I like to tag team the holes because there's 18
That's
holes.
yeah.
who's waiting for me at home right now. My regular home.
Baby.
Not where I'm at right now.
I'm sure they'll be excited to see you.
I know. I haven't seen her in like almost a month now.
Oh.
She should have played fucking mini golf. She would have fucking seen you.
I think it's hard for dogs to play mini golf.
I think so
Yeah,
too.
Especially
Yeah. It's a
online.
dog.
I'll be honest with you.
Well, who
That's
knows?
a good trick.
I'll be honest with you. I had a different conversation in my head, and that is not one of the.
Yeah, I was talking about my dog.
Man, you're such a dog.
Okay, my bad.
Green.
Yay, Shane made it. Welcome, Shane. Y'all ready? Ready for me to hit the button? Gonna hit the button. This one's super hard, guys, so don't like feel like it's you. It's this course.
It's not you.
No one does well. No one.
If I have ever seen a course, it's
If you win, you're very.
I know,
incorrect.
seriously.
I love corrupted, like the law.
It's a very corrupted course. And
This is the
It's
test.
time to shine.
Who's the most, corrupted?
alright, I don't know what directions to give you. So does straight work?
Don't go too hard, 'cause that's what I just did.
The shit out.
Oh.
Hi.
Oh shit.
Oh, mate, I'm fucking screwed. We're gonna go that way.
Oh.
Oh,
So you have to go super soft.
Thor?
To the bit, to the bit. To the bit.
No, I went too slow.
I'm done for. I went.
No! That seems so hard to do too.
I'm already in the hole.
Oh, this isn't where I wanted to go.
Shade, you really are already in the hole?
Yeah.
I'm in the
How?
hole now too.
Just cause. I don't know.
I just got in the hole.
Ah!
That's what she said.
Oh, fuck you.
No!
No.
I'll
I'm
take it.
upset. Okay.
I'll take it. I don't care.
I usually just jump over that thing.
No!
I am.
Like,
I'm now on the second shot. You know what?
oh gosh.
Okay, that's
No! This track, the hole, yes, Sixer.
It's gonna be better if I just lay up.
This is just so hard.
It's gonna be better if I just.
Thank you, Rose, for sacrificing yourself for me.
I'm gonna go.
Ready for you, Mono.
No!
You went too fast, Kimono.
I know. I was scared because it's an angle and I don't know how to do this.
You don't know how to do it in a
Jump.
jump.
You need to
No.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I went in there. I went into that hole with 10 strokes, and
That's impressive.
best.
I went in
Ah.
quick and left quick.
Yeah.
Michigan knows how to do this. I don't know how, but he knows how to do this.
Sorry.
That counted as another move. Oh gosh. Took me 14 strokes, but I made it. That's what she said. Right, Sixer?
It's basically a par.
Sixer, you know you want to play.
Oh yeah, it's only 9 holes too.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, I kind of get what I'm doing. Or not.
No.
Hmm.
No fucking way.
Did you get a hole in one?
I just got a hole in fucking one.
What?
Oh my gosh.
Bullshit.
Yeah, what was
What's your
Hacker.
secret?
Hacker.
What was your, what was
No!
I'm awesome. That's my secret.
Was it 3 eats or how many?
Was it 3 eats? Was it
3
three
eats?
Or like,
Thor, can you not touch my ball, please?
I'm gonna try 3.
Mine first.
was
Wow.
3 was too powerful. 3 is too powerful. That's against Toss.
it?
What is Sixer? You joining us?
Alright, it's like 2.5.
2.5 yeets gets me a hole in one.
Ah! Unless the thing hits you.
I think I just did. Oh,
MTMG, welcome!
Hey, 2.5 yeets, hole in one. Without a doubt. If you're in front of the starting point,
The scoop got me!
you two.
I'm not good. Like I said, I'm only good at the first hole.
Pokecatch, guys. Hello, welcome,
Don't know what to do with the other holes.
Yeah, I know. I'm
Right?
What do we say, Kimono?
I'll
Nico,
take
Nico,
that.
kneecaps! Boss fight, guys! Exclamation boss if you want to join the boss fight and earn cookies on the stream!
Cookie. Cookie.
Oh,
Cookie.
nah.
Cookie.
Go.
Oh.
Okay, I found my way in.
Okay, you're probably about like maybe 1.5 from there.
There, now everybody has cookies.
To get like where you're like to get into the hole,
You just-
Go a little slower and you'll get it.
absolutely. So now, MTM, you have cookies now. You can do the command now. I just don't even know anymore. Out of time. Whatever. Crazy holes.
Yeah, you ran out of time.
My other
Oh, never gonna call you
white
back.
folks might not be happy about this. Yes, you cannot have artist monstrosity. We will fight. We will fight.
Like, damn, Thor, are you cheating? Are you the most
There.
terrific?
We're gonna fight.
I'll fuck you up.
Okay, who just did that? How many yeets did you give that?
Oh lord.
I don't remember because I went and that was it.
Oh, that old chestnut.
Yeah, I don't really.
So do y'all just bounce off that thing there?
That was almost perfect.
That's what I did.
Oh.
Stop. Not enough.
Oh. Getting
I'm
old.
gonna try
There we
3.
go, I'm in.
I can't.
No, too
Oh, no, but I didn't miss. I hit it.
The hell?
Over there.
I was gonna say I have Mono and Rain, right?
Oh.
Fucking try it, bruh.
No,
Oh, we're gonna go with
Hi, Kimono.
not Mono anymore.
Henry.
What, you're,
How did I end up over here? I failed.
me almost got me in a
Oh my
hole, thank
fucking
you.
God, I didn't realize.
I look away and I'm near the hole. I don't know. I think I had cheat codes or something. I wasn't even watching.
Yeah,
Kimono the
literally
cheater?
hit.
Oh boy.
Apparently I have hacks because I failed that move a minute ago and I ended up over here somehow
Why'd you
anyway.
beat me like that.
I didn't. You hit me.
Well, they break
Sorry.
up. Oh, geez, horrible. Let's get.
Our marriage can't survive this.
Not this course anyway. This one's just no.
There's too many holes for your lady.
Going to the left, it's a full yeet.
No more kimono wafu. No. No mono. Nani? Not mono anymore. No kimono. I will get you back. Don't worry.
Dream, you're really dreaming about this. Just get it in, man.
I just have to
Stop
say,
dreaming and do it.
Midget Monstrosity, no stickers for you. Just kidding. Not the stickers.
Oh,
Throw
finally.
the stickers.
Not the stickers.
Ah, right.
2 bars will get you up.
Rip. Mhm. Let's see.
We got 17.
And
Come and spin it later.
Oh,
This looks too easy.
here's my favorite
It looks easy.
Oh, it was
I know.
good.
That's
I tried.
I almost got
Oh,
a
I
hole
got
in
this
one.
hole and then.
Okay, Mono can have you. Yes.
Oh,
And there we go.
Oh, that was close.
no.
and apparently Crowley too.
Hey, leave me alone.
You fucked
No,
me
this
up,
is my
Michigan.
hole.
Leave me alone.
This is the fake hole that we're in.
No.
Yes, all the loves.
I can't do anything. You're in
I
front
went,
of
I
me.
went over it. I went fucking over it.
This track is just like, let's use up all my turns every round. That's how I feel
Okay.
about this map.
Hey, Rose, how you doing?
Okay.
Fuckers. I
And then
Yeah.
Michigan kills this map, and I don't know how.
I do not kill this.
This
Oh, you
map
fucked
kills
me
me.
up,
Give me
Michigan.
in. Give me in the
I bet you
I
have
killed-
first place.
Nah, the thing is, I'm struggling.
No.
I was here. I don't know. See, everybody loves this hole. Let's just stay in this one. It's better than the other one.
Oh, jeez.
Shit.
Can I join you guys? No, denied.
I only got 7 strokes. You know this
Hi, Kimono.
Hi!
And there we go.
Bye.
Hi,
Wow,
Rubs!
this hole does look easy, but it's.
I prefer,
What?
prefer 8 strokes before going to hospital.
You get all this giant thing, Mona. Waifu, yes! Look how happy you made her. Yes!
I think it's like,
Happy!
from where you are, Rose, probably be like 1.
I would have got
A little
it.
over
like,
1.
12.
Okay, just go a tiny bit. Well, now it's like 1.5.
No, it was, I don't know. It was 1 and like a quarter
12
for me.
strokes, baby.
12 strokes.
I'm doing great.
Sixer.
Hey, you are actually.
Cute, cute. Sixer hype. Yes.
This hole was a trap.
It's trap.
Shane's trying to creep up on me.
It's trap.
I got denied.
Yo. Ooh, who went up and over?
Oh, that's smart.
That is smart, but. Damn, my
Oh, I got denied.
Oh,
Finding that though. Yeah.
What?
How did I get over here? Is this where I need to be?
I'm just gonna like see where it takes me.
No!
Oh, that worked.
I love the difference between our hats.
Oh.
Or alcohol, so I can get it.
Oh, damn it.
Oh, there we go.
Honey.
Ball slap.
Does not look like the right place to be, but. Oh, whoever boosted me, thank you. Thank you. I thought. Oh, and Rose. Whoa.
Where am I supposed to go?
I am failing.
All part of the whole
With
tonight.
that attitude,
Right?
Holy shit.
gotta manifest this shit.
Ooh.
You are full manifestation.
That's the one.
Uwu.
I'll give you a full
Mhm.
manifestation.
Not naming my dog Uwu.
Where's this?
Nani,
Nani?
Okay.
Nani?
So we're talking about adopting a dog, and we're trying to figure out a name. So I was joking around that we could call her Nani.
Nani? Come here.
Mona, where are you in the fruit basket?
Right where we left off at. I hadn't opened
We
it.
will. Okay, we're gonna pick it back up. I'm gonna rewatch with you. It's gonna be awesome.
What are you talking about? You already restarted.
I'll be
Okay, we have to all go after Thor.
Oh, jeez, where's the hole?
I'm terrible. I don't typically watch anime by myself.
The amount of
Thor,
hurt
that's
that
not
one.
the first time you said that.
I love that we have the same sense of humor, Michigan.
Yeah.
We're just floating.
This is the worst lazy river ever.
Black cat ears. Got you. Yeah, this course is easy. You just like sit back and see where life takes you.
Yeah, so easy.
Chicken?
Yeah, come on, we got
How do I get over there? I don't even know. Where are we at?
Go through the portal.
I don't think.
I don't know. Yeah, that doesn't work.
Kimono, where are you? Oh.
I'm not sure. Oh, you can jump on the water? Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh. That's helpful.
You can bounce?
Free my ass.
You heard
I did it.
it. Dude, I just Kobe'd it. Went straight in. That was my first nothing but net.
Nothing but net.
Yeah, I just.
Nicotine! Turtle! Thank you for the 39 mods! Thank you. welcome to the stream.
I don't know if Dream's gonna make it.
Oh yeah.
Mm-mm.
Not with that attitude.
I was about to say, you don't sound like you're making it.
Are you winning?
Good job dodging those spinners. Good job.
You got 10 seconds. To
I
get
don't
in
know,
there.
10 seconds. 5 seconds.
Shoot for the stars, jump! Oh!
No, you're out.
You're denied by the jumping mechanism.
Are you ready, kids?
3 more holes. Thor's in the lead, followed by Shane and Tifa.
Ah, move.
This one's dark.
Where we going now? Over there.
I'm so ready to win it. So ready to win it. You ready?
Oh, damn it.
That works.
That is not enough. Oh,
Oh, that didn't work.
Alright, so it's a full yeet.
It's a full yeet.
Right at the waving tentacle up there.
Okay.
Or just to the right of it.
I got an
In
eagle.
left.
No.
Alright.
I think I stand up better
Yeah.
chance by doing the
Oh. Yeah, the tentacle can actually shove you in the hole if you time it right. That's true.
I have no comment.
Oh, that doesn't sound right.
It's true though, you can get a hole in one.
We're all adults here.
I
We
think,
know.
I think I actually prefer to be in the hole.
Same.
Like I love
Oh my gosh.
it. And then just randomly, then just like.
Thanks for the hype.
Like, oh,
No, don't touch me down there. Oh god, where did it take me?
I love a good surprise. And when you're in the hole, and then you get
Ugh,
so happy. Like I'd rather just.
I can't get out.
You know,
What are you
Duck.
doing?
Duck Sing,
Oh
welcome.
my god.
I'm just gonna go down over here.
I'd love to just eat myself over the shit and then.
Oh, not the log. Oh, the log didn't hurt me. The log didn't hurt me. Oh god, I'm gonna come over here to the other log and let it hurt me.
Oh wow.
Dang it. Dang it. Jump. Jump.
Mona, was it you I heard the cry of fear from?
Probably.
What the fuck, man?
Oh.
I love the hole. I love the hole and I love the crevasse, but just give me a bit of a break here.
For real?
5 seconds.
No? Yeah, I'll be honest with you.
Ah! Dang it. How are you doing, Duck? How are you doing? I hope you're doing awesome.
You know what's making
I got a flippin' eagle.
Do you
Mm.
know what's made me more
What?
fucked? What's made me more fucked is the fact that Kimono is less than me in offense. And
Okay,
I'm
so not a full yeet.
definitely
I
not
concur,
full yeet.
but I
No.
don't know how to aim.
Definitely not full yeet.
That guy hit.
I ricocheted off somebody.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think
Oh,
hit.
you mother
I-
bitch.
I think I've got this mildly low.
Ah!
Good no. Mildly.
The game's cheating.
Oh, who was that?
I'm good like always. I'm glad to hear it. You got this the next round? Yes!
I'm just trying to get to
No.
I'm joining the drunkenness. Wait, what?
What? Who do I keep hitting? I swear.
That's all it really is.
I'm just glad I'm out of that.
Come on, get
And we're up.
No.
And we're down.
Oh, ah.
You don't have a trainer pass? Oh! You need a pass.
Get in the hole. I'm in the hole with 8 strokes.
Dream, that's not the first time you said that.
No,
We can help you. Hold on.
be a lot more than 8 strokes.
I can't do this.
Fine, 9.
There you go, there you go. Poke start.
9.
He begins. Your starter is Froakie. Ribbit. You didn't get the duck though, dang it.
Okay.
I just.
Mm.
No.
Where the heck are you supposed to go from here? Like,
Just find it.
I got it.
If you get any more than 6, sorry, if you get any less than 6, you're winning.
Yeah, that's not happening.
Sorry.
Alright, I got 12. Good enough.
I'm out of time on this one. I'll say that right now.
Ugh. I don't know how to approach this one.
I ran out of shot.
No.
They're trying to like parkour over here.
This is the first time I've ever seen you with your glasses off, motherfucker.
15.
Yeah, I got these nifty new things called contact lenses.
Oh, did you?
Yay!
So here you go. Here's for the first ever.
Timed out.
I've seen you with glasses on.
I got me my glasses.
Slow-mo tank.
I've seen you with glasses
Replay
on.
mode.
Binoculars out of you.
Are you binoculars out? You have to do it when there's just too much screen.
I'll take it.
Yes! Alright, Shane's winning, followed by Thor.
We got one more hole.
Tifa in Michigan.
Wait,
Michigan's gonna beat everybody. He's gonna do a pro on this last
I
hole.
started great and then I didn't.
How the fuck? Oh my
Does it
fucking
fully eat?
fuck!
No, not affiliate, not affiliate. About
Whoopsies.
2.5.
The hole over here.
No,
I wonder if I can go this way. Oh, I can.
Am I the fucking test dummy here? We're
Yep.
going with 2 years. We're going with 2 years.
Hey, I got an eagle. I'm happy with that last
Oh,
hole.
did you, aye?
No.
I got an eagle.
I got lucky. I found it quick.
We're gonna go like fucking maybe
Uh.
off the brick, turn a bit off the brick.
I didn't know where I was going until.
Actually, where are we going?
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm gonna wait till Dreams moves though. I feel like he's gonna sabotage me.
Oh, shit.
There might be a foul.
I was waiting for you to move because you're like in my path and I'm like,
Oh, you just want to see the fucking dummy move before you do. No, I
Alright,
get it,
I'm gonna
man.
look at Thor's ball.
ah!
Balls, whatever you
I'm
want.
gonna go like maybe like quarter of a year to the.
I just had a Twitter battle, but they left.
Oh Jesus! Oh, what are you
They
doing?
left. Oh no! I forgot who my starter was. I think you can type buddy or starter or something. What is it? I have to look commands.
Get this jump.
Me neither.
You can't do that jump.
You guys just keep doing the strokes. Maybe I'll win.
Yeah, you can't.
I don't know how you did it, Michigan.
I don't know either.
Because
Now I went back too far this way.
There we go.
Michigan
Stop,
cheating.
stop, 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 stop. Ah.
Michigan paying too much attention to these games. Yeah, he's like, this is
Like,
we're gonna
cause it doesn't jump that high.
Shit.
I don't know.
Somehow.
No,
I'm. Oh.
I don't know how many strokes you were ahead of me.
I was trying to take a shortcut that doesn't exist apparently.
you should ask.
Well, you can always make your own strokes.
I was trying.
Well. It's over.
Poke buddy.
Don't
Oh, you can make a buddy then. I knew buddy was a thing, but I was like,
I just know about
Pokemon commands.
with my eagle.
Understood for a moment there what it's just to calm the fuck down
Poke starter?
and find out what everyone else is doing before she
You already have a pass? I don't know.
11 strokes.
What is it?
I got it in.
Am I like, am I stuck in a hole? Where am I?
Well, it says the time limit's up. Yeah, I can't.
I was in a weird place.
Last time
I'll be honest with you.
they were
17
downstairs.
Strokes, 17 strokes still does not cut it.
I won with my eagle at the end. and I was
Pokeball.
in 4th place before that hole. I got a new hat.
Maybe it just tells you below the stream who your starter is
I am the most corrupted person here.
in the box.
I'm gonna ditch, bail, peace out, have fun, enjoy yourselves. I have
Says-
work tomorrow, so if
Alright, good luck at work.
thank you. If
You better go word.
It says authentication failed. I can't even use the widget below. I don't even know. It doesn't like me.
If anyone should ever dare to come onto the channel before, I don't know what it is in US days, between like, I don't know, like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, if they want to go on in this channel for 1 AM, then I'll be here, because I'm working tomorrow and it's like my normal time.
Ta-da!
Anyway,
Good,
have fun.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
Try this.
I know I'm not.
Well,
Peace out.
Good night.
If I don't see you through
Night.
I'll see you through the window.
Ciao, ciao, ciao.
Do you?
Love all of y'all.
Later.
Tomorrow's gonna be a good day. Alright.
Everybody's getting drinks and snacks.
Rose is looking for eye drops.
Same thing.
Yeah,
And
except
we-
if you put them in your drink, that's a really bad time.
Let's not put eye drops in the drink.
Well, you know, just saying.
But
But
I have to
anyway,
go see Shane if we put eye drops in her drink.
Holy,
wait, what?
what I get rated by?
So we're gonna have to go see Shane if we put eye drops in Rose's drink.
Oh,
Hold on.
you're gonna be puking out everything.
well, unless you like fall over and break your leg on the way to the hospital, you probably won't be seeing me.
Oh yeah, true.
We'll break your leg then.
No,
What?
Very simple.
I'm not breaking my leg.
Oh yeah, we've
Again?
had enough
I've
of
done that. Been there.
Well, then
Oh,
do
damn.
it again. The other leg.
Bring the whole bottle.
Damn.
Oh God.
Why the fuck
And I
not?
mean, I was gonna
She's
say,
not
even if you
driving
do-
anywhere.
I am tomorrow, but fuck
You
work.
might as well drink from the bottle.
Some
I drink
class.
from the bottle every day. No, not every day. That's
I did
I had-
yesterday. I had like that much left, and I was like, I'm not using a fucking glass for this.
Cthulhu Planter
I just can't believe I went
I
to
like
fourth
your
place in
music.
first place on that
with
level.
all your legs. What?
Probably the most decrepit.
Ta-da! Alright, you guys ready?
I was born.
Or are we waiting on Tifa? Tifa. I get it wrong.
She's deaf.
Yeah. So I probably stepped away for a second.
I would take off my glasses.
You missed half of it, Kimono! Oh no. You haven't
Rose
selected
has
your buddy
sunglasses
yet?
Oh,
I don't wear. I should wear glasses.
Oh,
but-
gift. You don't have
I haven't been
permission.
wearing my glasses, and I
Oak loyalty. Nope.
Well, I'm near.
You already have a
so I
pass.
guess this is
Your
what I
loyalty
got.
level 1.0. Next goal increase. Drop chance by 5.
I don't want to
I
see
mean,
the world anyways.
Who does?
honest. It's like without my glasses, I'm legally blind. Like,
Oh yikes!
like without my glasses, my eyesight
No.
is 2200.
Ooh.
Oh, okay. So when I fight you, I'm just gonna say, "Hey, can I borrow those glasses?" And throw them in the-
See, I like technically have 20/20 vision, but it's still like it's because I try too hard at my eye exams. Apparently, you're not supposed to try, and so last time I did the test, and she was like, "Are you trying to see this?" And I was like, "Well, yeah." She's like,
Yeah.
"Look
Aren't
at-
you
look at
supposed to
the
try to see it?
description."
What is it?
I mean, I would think you're supposed to try to see. Like, focus as much as you can.
Nope, you're
No.
not supposed to
Hold your
focus
eye.
unless
You're supposed to just be lazy about it?
Yeah.
And
you
guess?
Close your eyes. Close your eyes and then imagine it.
And then just
Yes.
foresee.
Yeah. it'd be
Yes, I
something
see
like
that blurry image.
Let the answers come to you.
Yeah, and if that
Right?
doesn't happen, then you're not
You
psychic.
could, you could fail it. Oh, nobody wants to fight the boss with me.
Mhm.
I'll fight it with you. How do I do it?
Mhm,
I-
mhm,
exclamation point boss.
All you have to do is ask.
Yes.
Cheers.
Oh, it didn't let me do it that fast.
What is it?
Probably broke it.
4? Oh.
There you go. It always does 42. It always likes 42. Yay! We beat the meerkat.
I think the other one's 54, right?
I'm back. I got raided.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
I got raided by the people who doing donations for right now.
Oh, that's awesome.
Called backup.org.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I know who decided to raid into me because she was streaming with them.
That's awesome.
I just get a donation. How much? $5? Oh my god!
Sweet. Yeah, I gave you a minute. I didn't want to hit start yet. I figured you were busy.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
$5! Thank you guys so much.
But yeah, we're ready when you are, I think. Oh, no. No, we're not. 2 people stepped away. No. They were ready, and now they stepped away, so it's their turn.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I got raided and I
No, I completely understand.
You have nothing to apologize for.
We're just goofing off and talking and having snacks and drinking.
And then I just got a $5 dono.
That's awesome.
Yeah, $506. So that's really close to my another $700 goal. That's my next goal. And it was an anonymous, so I have to put it on my anonymous side of shirt.
Alright, hitting the button.
Yep. I should be ready when it comes on.
It's not fair, Midget Mistrosity.
Yeah, so guys, I know there's a lot of new people in Kimono stream, but I am doing a charity stream for Stack Up. If you guys don't know what Stack Up is, it's helping veterans get supply crates.
Why? Why? I didn't type 54.
I thought you typed 69.
We haven't made it to 69 yet.
Fuck.
We haven't made it there yet. We're getting there.
Yay!
Yeah, you have
I
to do
finally
all
made
the
this
things.
shot first try.
Every time.
Oh, brag.
Why did you guys say not the pie? I only did it just because it's the trending I've been doing now. And I want to. What? Okay, can somebody fucking clip that? I just flipped through the goddamn floor.
Kitty.
See how long this lasts. Let me start my stopwatch.
Put you down before you started.
You need to do it. It's a really fun experience.
Why didn't you let me if you didn't want me
Oh, I just wanted to jump up, say hi, then. Oh, okay then.
Will.
No, then to him, he's like, I'm doing our time right now. Alright, so I have to get out of here.
Now, I don't do pies in my face that often. But my last stack up things I've been doing before, I did have some pies in my face doing for my goal. This other goal I haven't really completed yet because I'm taking a mental break from DVD. So but hopefully next week I will be able to get that goal done, and What is my next goal?
Anyways.
But Rose, this is really good. I don't know if you were here when I was showing everybody earlier. It's strawberry coconut.
Oh, did we have those in Myrtle Beach? Didn't
No.
When is my next oh yeah.
Strawberry coconut.
No team for for 5 games. That's my $700 goal. My $900 goal is
Got
to
it!
make friends with the
Those
enemy.
seriously look amazing. It is. I'm obsessed with Malibu. You will probably love it though.
Yes.
It was
I hate this hole.
Oh,
right.
I clipped back in.
Just kidding.
Ah!
Yeah, hit the game.
Then I'm gonna have to get some of those.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
You can,
pie can be bad if you don't know how to pie yourself in the face correctly.
Yeah, I was looking for like the hard Mountain Dew live wire, and then I saw that, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm getting that."
I can't find that anywhere yet.
Well, it's not in every state. It depends on if it's your state yet.
Yeah,
They haven't launched it in every state.
Well, in Maine, I don't know. Yeah.
Well, I need to.
I have a feeling I might be a little over the top once I graduate. Cause all that pent up lack of drinking there, artist. Is that why?
You bumped me?
No, I went and then somebody bumped me.
It might have been. It might have been me. I don't know. I think we all just went for the hole at the same time. Oh,
Yeah,
that was
that was-
definitely me that time. but
You didn't.
but Thor made it through though. That's what's
Well, we're gonna
important.
Take our turn here.
Oh, as long as you made it through.
I'm in.
Where are my balloons? They're right here. But if you guys do donate with I know somebody already just donated $5. But if you do
I will
donate
need
$5,
a
you get your name on the balloon also.
D&D
But if you,
ticket
if
to
you
my
donate
bed.
more than $1 or $5,
Just a
you
pillow
can
and a
choose
nice
between a shirt and
soft
a balloon.
throw rug.
Or you can do both.
Yeah, I guess everybody's in the hole.
Oh, except
Yeah.
for Racing Tank.
Not enough.
Dude,
I'll
that's
volunteer.
serious.
Aw. You drive a lot, don't you, Mr. Monstrosity? Yeah.
Oh. It looks like The Witcher's coming out this month.
Ooh.
So
I don't
guys,
know if I'm
if
in
you
a place to watch it.
kind of new to my stream, I normally stream out of a hotel, but today is my last day of streaming out of a hotel for a while.
I'm in last.
That's exciting.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I get to go see my family
Good.
really soon. I can't wait. Oh, you bounced the wrong way, Bull.
Okay, alright, I'm gonna make you come dance with me. I don't dance and
Oh
I'm
my God,
terrified to
somebody hit
sing
me.
in front of people too.
Oh, okay.
So, artist, what I'm hearing is a party at your place. That's what I'm hearing, artist.
Artists?
Yeah, we're having
Yeah.
a party there. You didn't know that?
Artist is having a party after she graduates
bet.
college.
Yeah, yeah. We all have to walk there though. That was the deal.
Don't worry,
You know,
there'll
it's
be a
what?
crowd.
We all
I
have
also-
to walk there.
Don't
Oh, I
recall
thought
giving
said
you an
walk
option.
there.
Dude.
I was like,
Oh.
what the fuck?
That's weird, but yeah. I said walk, but see now my walk joke doesn't like.
You'll get kicked out. Yeah, that would not be good.
Just less.
You need your home.
Oh crap.
I was legitimate. We will celebrate in a place that's expected to be loud. That's fair. That's fair.
Oh, we're in the airport. You know,
Gonna celebrate at Disney and Epcot with drinking around the world. I don't know.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Food and wine.
I
Let's do it, everybody.
have to buy a plane ticket for Connecticut and Virginia at the moment, and hotels. I'll consider it. Yes! Oh my god, see? I knew it. On May 22nd, right? May 22nd, Goth Day. Everybody that goes has to dress up in goth and drink around the world at Disney.
I'm so down.
I don't know yet.
I've been paying attention.
Yeah, you have to play with your ball.
Do I go around or do I go through the thing?
Who's
I
balls?
If you've been paying attention, you can see how we did it.
Oh, shots fired!
Oh,
Damn, Shane.
I'll make a special announcement when I know the date. Yes. Well, I'll be happy for you.
Oh yeah, guys, my
No matter how you choose to celebrate.
pretty soon.
Oh, Mano, come on.
Yeah, my 1-year anniversary of being an affiliate.
Yay! Happy anniversary.
It's not until August.
I did like
Fine, I'll fly my waifus out. Yes.
I just used the.
And I
blue
Do
one.
it.
You gotta jump.
I
In August.
You know, I
There'll
think it's
be
better
another
just to hit
charity
the
stream.
blue square.
fuck me.
I would hit the blue square.
not on camera.
I went with the Blue Jolly Rancher. That's what I did.
Yeah,
Full
yeah,
power.
Go full blast to the blue Jolly Rancher. Full blast. Oh, never mind. How did you do that? Oh, and then you jumped out. No. Full blast to blue Jolly Rancher. No, that's the hard way.
It is.
Full
I know,
blast
that's why
Blue
I
Jolly
took the
Rancher.
easy way and I only had 2 strokes.
Full blast at the big blue Jolly Rancher. And it pops you over there. Usually a little bit closer than that, but
Smart.
you get the idea.
Oh, sugar.
Where's the shit?
Too much power.
Mother bitch.
Mother cow.
Good grief.
Darn
Oh,
it.
That's the most Charlie Brown moment in 2 in a row.
Nah, man, I'm quitting while I'm ahead. I can be intelligent sometimes.
Alright, I gotta pay attention this time.
I think you do.
We all got 2, and then Rose got 13.
Shut up. Listen, I like being the
I dumped
highest
in work.
score.
That is true, though. It is good to have a lot of strokes in this game.
And in life, you know?
Yes.
I was trying to be PG, which I did.
Oh, fuck beat PG-13.
I mean, technically, that's still PG-13 as long as that's your only F word of the night.
Oh, I'm allowed 1 F word? Yes. I
Yeah,
don't swear
in-
that.
in
I love
No.
playing that game.
the PG-13 movie.
Yeah, like figuring out where to put the F-bomb and like Lord
Oh,
of the Rings,
no.
where it's like,
You shall not fucking pass.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that was a thing, that they were allowed to put it in there one time. Rules are weird.
There's a rule. In there a rule too, like it can't refer to actual sex, like it's just an expletive. Like
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
say like you're fucking something, then it doesn't still rated
Oh,
R.
his F word's done.
Just the one word.
Oh, you
I don't
need to be
swear that
faster?
often, so I'm gonna start swearing.
Oh, I fucking swear all the time.
Oh, now we're rated R. That's the
I
rule.
just said it twice.
Well, we're
pretty
gonna be
sure
rated.
we already were.
No, we're gonna be
Yeah.
Yeah,
rated.
we
Yeah.
PG or
technically
whatever
were.
that is.
I'm 18 plus stream.
Me too. I don't take
I,
chances.
I'm 40
That is
plus.
absolutely true. Memphis though, swearing is caring. It is.
Ah!
Scary.
I used to swear a lot, but yeah, when I was younger, I used to swear a lot.
When I was
When I
in
was-
8th grade, me and my 2 best friends tried giving up swearing for a Lent, and we invented our own swear word to use in the place of cuss words. It was called quidge.
Oh my god.
It didn't stick.
It sounds funny as heck.
We were something.
You were young.
It sounded like a fun time though.
Oh yeah.
I don't like this whole.
My dad used to call us the Irish Mafia because their last names were also Irish.
Oh.
like how everybody's ball touches.
Mafia princess.
Okay, now I can't move.
Makes sense.
I know, I can't move either.
Waiting on
Maybe I can.
Mono.
No,
Me?
well, we all have our hands out. And we're all
Yep.
just chilling.
Where the hell am I? How did that happen? Alright, well,
I said it! I said
oh, not like that, it won't.
Night Rain! Hello, lovely!
I'm not doing good in this one.
I miss our Genshin!
Not with that attitude.
Yeah, okay, Mom. I'll see.
So hey look, Rain's in chat. Wait. Everyone's gonna be like, what?
By the way, guys, this is my second beer, so
Ever?
no. Today.
I was like,
Beer today.
I'm like, she's gonna go crazy.
Well, what do you think? It's fucking summer.
Is it?
Oh, for
I
me,
know I
I'm
was
on
hooked on
vacay.
Zelda. Nice. Let's go!
No.
Get it.
Let's go! First hole in one on this hole!
I'll be back, I promise. I know you will.
I got a
Better come back in my stream then. I'm just kidding, I'm just kidding.
Brain brain?
Huh?
Is that regular?
No.
I won.
Thank you so much.
GG. I still have more wins? Question mark. No? You finally passed me? We're tied? I know you keep track.
I'm storming back.
To be fair,
Me
you are
too.
winning.
Also, I get Pokemon Online so I can play Violet with you? Sweet. I need to play Pokemon.
So they have no power.
I need to play that new Pokemon, the one that, Pokemon Violet.
Yeah.
I don't
Mono
have the
had-
game yet, that's why.
I think Mono has a total of 2 streams on the newest Pokemon game, and she hasn't played it since.
Yep. It just happened. I don't know.
Come on, you need to get on that.
I know, right?
I know the games don't run very well, but they are pretty darn good otherwise.
Yeah.
By the way, Miss E, if you're still on here, next time
You have a
play
digital
some
notepad
questions,
tally?
let me know.
Nice. Nice.
I like your bird's nest.
26 to 26.
Get some
Dang, that's a lot.
dinosaur nests.
You've been counting for a long time.
Because I'm gonna be on summer
Dinosaurs
vacation,
are
I'm
real,
probably
they're
not
still
even
alive.
gonna be. I can do whatever time. Alright, that's fine.
Ah!
Hi, Thor.
Who hit me?
Not me.
Dang it.
I mean this. Michigan.
Oh, too fast.
I got nothing to lose. I'm in second.
Ah, I
I'm
messed
the
this
second
up.
loser.
Stop, 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 stop.
I
Oh,
guess
so
you
you're telling
are.
me I'm the first
Oh, dang
loser?
Yes.
That's right, I'm the better loser than you.
Ah, don't go off, don't go off.
Second loser.
Unable to find a suitable boss for your size. Dang it. You tried.
At least you're first at something, you know.
Till now I've been doing one fight per stream with you, so there's time I'm gonna do 2 more for the stream. Oh jeez.
Jesus, Mother of God.
Maybe I should reinstall Genshin Impact and me and you can play together, Kimono.
Play some Genshin? It's a good time. It's fun.
Yeah, I just
What level did you make it to?
I can't remember. But I know it was a level of when I was
The
able to get
music.
onto online.
Mm-hmm.
In game.
No, in his head.
Got a glorified milkshake today. And the gal was
I
kind of
forgot
rude to
how
me
many
because
this is.
it has already sanitized the blenders and there was still 15 minutes before they closed. Oh no.
Free?
So she was salty. You can't have that. Now I'm gonna clean it
Is
again.
free eats?
Nope.
Oh no.
I'll tell you, I want to win.
I'm in like 4th place.
It's not 3.
Hey, I was in
It's
fourth
like a-
place and
it's
won.
like a little
It's 3 1/4.
3. Yeah.
Little
like
over
3
3?
1/4.
3 1/4, yeah.
Yeah. crunchy M&M in a bowl.
Oh, thank you.
Now, if you win, we know that Shane really did. He just helped you.
I know. But I really am in like 4th though, so.
Well, you're doing better.
Or really close to like it's
I'm getting the lucky 7s today.
yeah,
Oh, I'm in
32,
3rd,
33,
sorry.
33. Yeah, we're all really close together.
Mhm.
Except me.
Nobody hit me, otherwise I'll kill you.
Is this the one where you have to like?
Go through the crack.
Oh, I screwed it up. No, I didn't.
Oh fuck.
Hold on a second, Naughty.
Now you can bounce off the wall. You can go reverse, like bounce off the wall and then jump. Oh, you made it. You're good. I ordered ahead because it was 30 minutes before they closed. Also add 1 moment. Okay.
We can't just do it lightly.
Yeah, well,
Right here,
we're gonna
Naughty.
have to buy you a new spacebar cap.
Shane. You can't just like tap it like a bitch. You gotta.
Back, welcome back. So you ordered it ahead 30 minutes before they were closed, but yeah, they were still salty about it. Oof. I'm sure they get paid for that hour they work after they close to clean up. You'd hope. They said 3 minutes to make my order, and if you're not supposed to clean stuff like that before 10 minutes to close. I get you wanted to go home, but it's Friday night and people want coffee before they go drinking. That's true.
Oh yeah, coffee to help them get over the drunkenness.
Pre-coffee so you don't fall asleep after having the alcohol.
Same.
You're
I was gonna say, don't tell me I'm not gonna fall down.
And, gotta have the caffeine to wake up so you can go the extended period of time on the alcohol.
Well, yeah, I did.
Yes, and now, Naughty.
7 p.m. on a Friday? That's nuts.
Now, someone who just donated $5 today. But it was an anonymous.
Yeah, you can do that too, but it's not as healthy for you. Night rain. Not that any of it's healthy, but...
Uh-oh, Mono. The 3 of us are tied.
Oh no.
Brown mud?
And I hate this one.
Oh yeah, this one.
no.
I say
almost
give
had
my
it perfect and I
ball
messed
a
it up.
beer and just chill in the river.
I got invited myself. It's not the right command. I don't know what you're talking about.
No.
I need to put up someone's command on my screen.
There you go.
Son of a biscuit.
One last thing. My drink tasted like sanitizer. Ew.
Ugh.
Oh, so they didn't rinse it out good enough.
I was about to say that's the wrong type of alcohol.
Yeah, that's disgusting.
No, I messed it all up. I'm done. You guys are gonna win.
You need to drink more. I think you need.
Ugh.
I've retaken the lead.
You
I
did.
won the
Well,
corrupted
no,
forest.
no.
Cause I keep messing up like big time. I don't even know anymore.
You gave him the cheat for the last one.
Rosie caught. I don't even know who this is. Rosie. Is
Ah! It's like, how bad can I mess up?
Listen, if you're
Wow,
gonna do
come on.
something,
Do it good, right?
you stick it to it, you know?
Yes.
Stop trying to be fancy and get in the hole, right? 102%.
Thor and John.
I bet they just poured out the sanitizer and then put the elements in. Ugh.
Where's the hole?
Oh, you motherfucker.
That's gross. That's not safe either.
Me that, like,
I know,
pasting my
like,
name in it.
I'm not good at words either, so, like,
So that
I know.
Rose, that's not the right way.
I was trying. Take a shortcut. and it
I
didn't
saw
work.
that.
Oh, what kind of kick?
You're bouncing all over the place.
Oh no.
I'm just glad it's over.
That was too far.
Well, you want to be in the
69 for me
lazy
this
river.
round.
Like,
No,
bro,
69.
I'm full-time student, full-time work,
Who got
4.0
69?
GPA, and I stay late to work
I could've if I
a lot
was
of
better at
times.
this.
I want my fancy coffee to go do homework. Exactly. You earned it at that point.
Oh no.
Oh, God, did you just full yeet?
Wow.
No.
Well,
I was
when
gonna
she
say.
goes, she goes.
She's trying to put it on the next hole.
No, she wants to go to the freaking moon.
I don't know.
I have big dreams, okay?
Gotta change her name to Elon Musk.
Yeah.
I'm happy about your 4.0 GPA, though. That's awesome.
Oh?
No, I just realized. I don't know if you've seen my background since I've got both of your prints framed now.
No, I did not. That's cool. That's awesome. Sweet. Now you got them both on the wall.
Yeah.
You have me framed on the wall?
Nah.
Not
Why
yet.
I've got
What?
an old
Why not?
1969 Jimi Hendrix little concert flyer on the wall.
Yeah,
so-
close to it.
Ah, I gave it too much heat. Desi!
Hey.
Welcome, Desi! We're trying to, like,
Whoa, what do you guys do?
BOP here.
Thank you.
She probably wants to go
then
see if she can find someone to buy her a drink at the bar. She looked underage. Oh, underage. Oh, jeez.
Oh, that set me back to the beginning.
I'm a geek, but
Don't get in front of me.
thank you. I'm trying to keep it. Ah, I'm a geek. I also collect things.
I guess I finished strong.
Stop.
Oh, what do you like to collect, artist?
Oh no. Usually I just shoot it and hope for the best.
I
And
do
jump.
the same
Didn't
thing.
work at this time.
I find shooting and jumping. I don't know, jumping helps. Try to jump over the balls.
Alright, Thor. Don't mess up.
Daily Nightmare Before Christmas items? That's awesome.
He wants to win so bad. He's like, Thor.
No, I think he's. Yeah,
Lemon
he-
drop is the kitty on
Hey,
the
I
bed
won
now.
the carpet, fucking.
I see the kitty on the bed.
Oh, there's two of them.
There's two. I only see one. Oh wait! Is it in the way back, right near the pillows?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, game of I Spy.
I know, seriously.
Mother bitch.
Mother.
I think that's my favorite Roseism. Either that or Jesus, Mother of Christ.
Okay, I was drinking and not paying attention to what I was saying.
I was drinking.
So it's that black cat right there on the pillow, almost.
Yeah, you say.
Hold on.
That's Remus.
Thor, you're the only
Quite a
one.
bit of collateral.
It kind of doesn't
I
look
have
like
quite a
cat,
bit
that's
of
why.
collateral, tree ornaments, then some stickers, pillows, squishmallows, and a couple
I
of
got a new
things here
hat.
and there.
Me
Aww.
too, I got a captain's hat.
I got a
Oh.
snorkel.
I got a
Oh, you got
deluxe
one of
20 snorkel. Is that what you got? The 20 snorkel?
Not my captain's
No, the
hat.
red snorkel, I think.
Oh, you got a red one. I got a blue one.
Well, just don't dive too deep.
A blue one.
Yeah, let me change my boat too.
I
Just make
can't
sure
change
you
my
use the
boat.
proper stuff
I
so
can,
you
I
don't
can do rubber
explode.
ducky.
Just saying.
Just let me know when you guys are ready.
Well,
You
I-
take it away.
I'm sorry, I'm
Hat
drinking
on.
beer, so that's why I'm burping. If you guys are new here.
Yeah, I'm ready. Yeah.
I'm ready too.
Waiting on Rose, I guess.
Yeah, not Rose, but a tank. Tank stepped away too.
Oh, oh, then let me.
I don't care.
Oh, should I put my hat on?
I don't wear hats.
No, you're gonna make the cats.
I'm just give me my hat.
They're gonna wake up the cats.
Give me my hat.
The cats, but the cats, bro.
Oh,
You had to wake up the cats.
this is why I married.
Oh
Right.
my god.
Love it.
I married him with the same hat.
The black cat.
You need to wear that on stream, Thor.
Me up.
My mullet hat.
Mhm.
Oh my god.
You need to make that a stream thing where you wear that. Yeah.
Mona, did you see the
I
picture?
would wear it.
Mhm.
Like me actually wearing it?
Mhm. I did.
I'm gonna wear it. 'cause
It was
it's
pretty
all-
awesome. Black cat ears again. The other ones?
Wow, she just likes to wear all black.
Oh, you want me to wear it? Is that what? Oh, you're putting it on.
Well,
Hmm.
that would be weird. I mean, you already have hair right there.
I know. It's like
I can wear
it
these.
literally blends in because my hair.
You didn't realize.
Dude,
What color would you
I
like
need
then? Would
that.
you like the other black ones? Or would you like a different color? Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell with this blanket on this chair. It kind of blends in.
Are those
There.
the goth cat ears?
Yeah, these are the goth cat ears, but the black blanket behind it makes it hard to find or see.
But yeah, Thor, you should give that to me because then I can actually have hair.
You'll look really. It'll look really nice with the
Yeah, because
difference
it's
in color
black.
with your beard.
Yeah,
Oh,
it'll
we're at
be
the
perfect.
museum?
I'll be called Joe Dirt now, finally.
Oh god.
Anything to
Oh,
help
this
you
one.
achieve your dreams.
Yes. My dream is to become Joe Dirt.
I don't think I've played this map before.
Hmm.
I don't think I
have
went there.
Why is my
Too far.
I thought my
Just
ball
a
was
tad.
a little bit more powerful?
Wait, Shane, do you have a brain cap?
Yeah, he
I
does.
do. That's
I
that's why
wanted
made
to
that
call
video.
him like Party Pants, but I didn't.
That's why I made that
Ah.
video about our hats being kind of funny when we was right beside each other on that other.
Oh
side.
yeah, because I had the dunce cap
The
on.
dunce hat. Yeah.
Okay, this
Go
is
Tango!
getting caught on the
Dunchy.
armrest.
Cut the sleeves.
I don't wanna. Well, I guess I'm just like a three-quarter
Just
length
cut the
right now.
sleeves. Do it right now. Just cut the sleeves.
Well, I ordered a wrong size for work, so I gave somebody my shirt.
What is that, a
This-
4X?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Wow.
No,
But I
it's good.
didn't-
to sleep.
I meant to
good to
get a XL, and I got a 3.
So now it's a comfy shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Uh,
about to say,
Yeah,
it's
now
good
it's
to
a
sleep.
common shirt, yeah.
Yeah.
it's a dress.
Mhm.
Well, it's
That's
good
when
to
you
sleep
just make it cute and add a belt and you're good.
Oh, that's smart. I could. Oh,
Just-
no, that won't work. Oh, because it'll cover up the words.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the most important part. Where-
Maybe like a really thin belt, maybe? I don't know.
Hank, we're waiting on you.
What? It's
Yep, Tank.
Watch you make this.
Yeah, What's the question? I speak alt goth fashions? All goth fashion?
Oh, we got.
Oh,
Oh,
I
yeah,
don't.
this one.
Oh
Well,
fuck.
what the?
You have
What
to
was
hit
the
that.
question?
I'm not on that much acid to play this.
but you're on some.
No, I used to
Just-
go to the forest and got some mushrooms and hope it worked.
No, too far.
Just jump over the wall. Jump toward the pole.
There we go.
Oh, I got
No.
a birdie.
Oh, catch! About the belt. Oh, she has a big oversized shirt and she was trying to think of a belt that she could wear maybe, but then it'll cover up the words.
I got all of
We
them.
were saying she could turn it into a dress.
Dang it.
Oh, I'm out of balls.
Thank
That's sad.
My balls, that's sad.
Who's
I
balls?
know, right?
Somebody should have covered
Rose,
that.
full unit to the left.
To the left.
Yeah.
I would do a big loop chain belt. Oh, that's a good idea. Like the one I have.
I got a whole one, so I would.
You could do that, and you can still see the words. Yeah. Like. Oh, ow. I had like the one banging on the door.
I want to cut it.
Or tie the part that doesn't have the words on it. Yeah, it's really long, so. But yeah, what artist is saying, Rose, is you could use something like this, and then you could still see through it.
I can try that.
Whoa, that looks
Be
like
fun.
something else. Sorry.
Yeah.
You guys should have an army hat or something. Veteran's hat.
It's a belt. I wore it with my goth
Okay,
outfit.
it's a bell, okay.
No, I mean for like the game and stuff, so I can have like a. So I can know that I'm supporting veterans right now.
Let's see. Let's go.
We got Captain Rose over here.
That's me.
Depending where the words are, you could turn the belt into a chain look.
Pirate name.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Captain
Captain
Rose.
Rose. Well, just make sure we survive in the open seas. Hold on.
Listen, I'm the right one to do that because I'm a really great swimmer.
I don't know if that's a joke or not. I don't know you that well.
It is. Very
Thor?
not serious.
Okay, I'm about to say Thor. could you-
No, I don't like putting my face in the water.
Well,
Really?
you have to put your feet in first. You don't have to just.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't like this one at all. Ah, I knew that was gonna happen. I don't
Is
even.
it full yeet? Just through the.
Just eat.
I don't even know. You just gotta time it just right.
Honestly, I just want to finish.
Don't we all?
Ah.
Yeah.
No, it was a joke.
I
'cause
misspelled
wanted
warranty,
somebody to catch
and my
it.
homework said I was wrong. Oh no!
No, I'm a very serious guy.
Serious guy? Hmm.
I'm a very serious guy.
Oh my god. The leg bone betrayed me.
This is a very.
The leg bone connects to the knee bone.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I've worked in orthopedics for years and it's betrayed me.
Oh, I did not know there was a gap there.
Sorry.
In your sex tape.
Yeah. Oh my god, I'm getting so drunk right now. But you know what?
Anyways,
Hey, I'm
this is
having
a
fun.
very horny hole.
Wait, what?
She knows what she wants.
No, it's a very horny hole. Look at it.
I thought you said you're horny.
Oh, I would not just. What?
You wouldn't disclose that information.
Yeah.
I know I'm a little bit weird, but I'm not. I'm not that weird.
Oh.
Full yeet.
I did.
Right between the teeth.
I am.
You just missed Maximus.
Yeetus Maximus.
No.
No longer want to EXE.
I think we're A-rated right now, or RBM.
I don't know. I'm just too. I don't even know what I'm thinking right now.
I'm just watching to see where everybody goes and what they're doing here.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
We all have.
Oh
one
god.
Just get no.
Fuck!
oh shit.
Oh, Rose,
I'm
you
in a
turned
bad
on the
position.
blockers. Eagle. I'll take it.
Par.
No.
Oh, don't go over the plastics. It's too many turns.
Dang it.
What do you
I
mean I
cannot.
turned on the blockers?
When you hit those blocks, then those blue invisible things turn solid and bounce people off. So if you hit one of those blocks, it makes squares everywhere, so it affects other players as you hit them.
Oh, that's awful. I'm so sorry.
No, it's all good. It's fun at the same time.
You know, I've given up on trying to win, so now I'm just keeping my last place secure.
Keep your last. That's what I do. I like keeping that last place secure. Once you get there, man, it feels great. Just gotta keep it.
I won one time. Now I'm happy with that.
Oh my god, stop.
Are you going backwards? No, he keeps going backwards.
Yeah, that's the third time that's happened.
You know, you only make success if you go forward, right?
Yeah.
Glug, 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 glug. Oh, yeah. What time you gotta get up?
Well, I gotta go after the lady comes.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
We have to clean in the morning.
Four-way triangle.
I had the same idea. Same idea.
I can't even cheat right. Come on now.
I'm not cheating right either.
Did I go over this wall?
Yeah, you can.
Ah!
There we go.
Messed
I'm
up though.
cheating right.
Like Michigan?
Go.
This is my second try though. Cheat this bowl.
No, stop. Fuck.
Eagle.
Nice.
Birdie.
Albatross. What?
Oh, I thought we were naming birds. Sorry.
Parakeet! There you go.
Back on my computer, did it? You didn't trip over the back onto the computer, did it?
Well, you want to see a bald eagle?
No.
I hope your keyboard still works.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, you spilled it?
I've done that. I spilled vodka and orange juice mix on my keyboard before. It didn't survive.
Here you go. Here's one. Here you go, Michigan.
Yeah, that's my father.
Oh, back there, of course.
It flies. I always try to jump off my roof constantly, but it doesn't work. But
You got
one day
45
it might.
seconds, by the way.
Huh?
You got 45 seconds.
You gotta jump the wall behind you. Never mind. That works too. You hit the block, so that works.
Hold on. Get a hole in
Wow,
one.
you're gonna get a hole in
Hole
one!
in one.
Never mind, I will never tell you how to play properly again, waiting till the last second, getting a hole in one. Maybe you should spill your drink more often.
I guess so.
I did not even. That was the best thing I've ever seen in a whole week.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can
I
stay
do
here?
great under
Come on,
pressure.
let me stay here. Yeah.
Well, I guess now is the time to see if your
And I'm back at the
keyboard works.
Albatross.
Well, it did last time.
Does she have a light up one?
This
No.
is so like
No, but it works for now.
It's like, well, I mean, it would just be. Oh, darn, I'm just saying it'd be an excuse to upgrade, you know, if the keys start sticking tomorrow or something, and she can get a light up one, a really pretty one.
oh, Thor.
Get a
yeah,
pink
this
one to
is
match your
like-
chair. You get a pink one to match your chair and your headphones.
That's what I want.
That's what you
why
need.
Did it actually?
Yeah.
Actually,
I think so, yeah.
Oh no, I broke it.
Shh. Okay, sorry, I wasn't supposed to tell your secrets. I'm bad.
Oh my god, there's so
Oh
much
no, Thor.
fat
I
here
think
in
I
this
need another
keyboard.
one.
Yeah, it used to light up. I don't know why it doesn't anymore.
All the stickiness of the last time.
And that one, by the way, you're supposed to hit the pole to the left, and then you bounce off a bunch of things. Like hit it full blast to the pole to the left, full blast.
Hit the what to the left?
The pole? See the flat spot on that pole on the left in front of you? Hit that flat spot, full blast. Hit it full blast and you'll bounce off a bunch of things. Oh, you didn't hit the right spot. You didn't hit the flat spot.
Oh well.
But yeah, if you hit the flat spot, it puts you right close to the flag.
Uh-oh.
But that's the right way.
It is.
Okay, I got far.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Boydie.
universe heard me say I shouldn't drink much more, so.
Yes, it did. It was being evil.
Okay, now what?
Do you want to miss the wind?
Yeah, you want to miss the wind the first time and get down here on the end, and then you want to use the wind to ride yourself up to the flag.
Oh.
Oh, what the hell was that? Eagle. It's probably the best I've done on this whole like ever.
Dag.
Ah!
This hole is too complicated.
Why does everything have to be complicated?
I'm just like too close to it, and now I'm too far, and I'm gonna get shot up by the other wind vents, and I don't even know. I'm just having a time of my life here.
By Green Day? Or...
Yeah, something like that. Ah! Maybe I have to be closer? There we go. My approach had to be different than what I thought it was. Hey, Mona?
Finish again.
Yeah?
Hey, I'm trying to take last place.
What did I hit? I hit the wrong button. Hi! Oh my gosh! 45 months! Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, Legs! Thank you, thank you, thank you! Appreciate it!
Is that the wonderful
Thanks for the
leg?
hype!
Michigan, you got
Yes!
I'm not.
Oh, I thought it was another leg.
Legend Clan. Yeah, it's Legend Clan, but I've always called him Legs. Because words are hard.
I definitely always thought it was legs.
It's League of Legends. It's like Legend Clan, but yeah.
Horrible hole.
But it does look like legs, so I've always called him Legs, and he's cool with it, so. Yawn soon. Alright, Jay!
Alright, bet.
Hurry up, Jay! We're on hole 13!
I'll give you.
You got 5 more holes!
Oh, the damn sand.
Alright, Anna.
Alright, gets everywhere.
It does.
No! Nice jump, Shane.
It's very high.
Oh man.
Oh, what happened? Did it pop you back out of the hole? Here, I'll give you a boost. Oh, that wasn't enough! What the heck?
You need a little bit more thrust. Come on.
Ah. Rose, yeah, don't go too hard or you'll end up in the water in the back.
I was trying to get out of the sand.
And if you end up in the water in the back, then you have to start all the way over.
Do that.
That was rude. Not you, but you.
Yeah, that was you.
I'm so sorry.
You would never be rude to me.
I know. Oh, I forgot how much I hate this map.
I hate it a lot.
Then why did I was gonna make a joke, SpongeBob joke.
Because I thought I selected museum, but somehow I selected. I thought I selected the.
Museum.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, I thought I selected the ghosty nightmare one with the baby heads.
Eagle!
You're making me very old after picking this.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, Jay.
Hello.
Hi, welcome. Thanks for the lurk links. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I missed your streams. I missed talking to you. Hope you're doing awesome. Yeah, I thought I selected haunted.
Oh my
Yeah, you clicked on
Jesus.
museum.
Mother of
Yeah, I believe
We
it.
should all do real golf together and just get drunk.
I give up.
I love real golf.
Alright, y'all gotta be good. Lady Raina's on her way. Just so you know. We're all in trouble.
Hey, Ryan's coming.
Yeah.
That's not
I'll mute Lady Rain now.
No, I call her Sunny because she's always sunny and gives all that joy.
Always sunny in Philadelphia.
So I can steal a lady soon. You can try. You can try. But I think Artist and I will have to fight.
like,
Okay, let's go bet.
Good job.
Rose, I have faith in you.
Thank you.
Blue.
Thank you. I hate this hole.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Jay. Since you're kind of new here, I told everybody else this. I'm actually doing a charity stream right now for Stack Up.
Oh, Rose, you're not supposed to be there.
Oh, shut up.
Rose, wrong
Kimono
hole.
said I can do it.
What?
Wrong hole. Wrong
Yeah,
hole,
well, yeah.
Rose.
I like it this way.
Hold on. You haven't shown too many secrets, bro.
Oh my.
Yeah,
Woo!
too many secrets.
Oh,
It's
I'm
getting
not
hot
seeing
in
that
here.
flag up there.
No.
Oh, where am I trying to get to?
That
Oh,
flag right there.
Where am I trying to get to?
That
It's okay. Michigan's still behind me.
Whoa.
He secured that place.
Oh, what? Colby went up.
No. Almost.
Scorpions?
Dang,
I went straight in the hole. Hole in one. Just went right in the hole. Just boom.
That's awesome. I jumped too far.
I Colby'd that. Jesus. I want to read
Oh no.
Ouch.
Albatross. Yes.
I'll take the hole in
Shut up.
I literally.
No, I went over again.
I went nothing but net right in.
Hmm.
barrier. Poor Rosie.
Fine. We're just living our best
Well-
life over here.
Yeah, she's
I'm having no luck. I don't know how you did it, Michigan.
I don't
Yeah,
know
same.
either.
Oh, there we go. I just did a
I'm
ring
just-
job.
Back of the scorpions.
You just did a what now?
None of your business.
Kobe Bryant.
Cold beef.
Sorry.
Oh, baby.
Oh, finally. What?
I did the cold beats.
Oh,
Rose, 1.5 yeets. 1.5 yeets just to the left of the first light.
just to the left?
Yep.
To the left, to the left.
Thank you.
And this is why you guys
There we
got
go.
here.
This is exactly why. I was like, you know what? I suck at golf with friends. I need someone.
I want-
Shane, you are not good at securing last place anymore.
Yeah,
Dang it.
Good for that, man.
Oh no!
Oh,
Dang it.
That was
Timing's
booty.
Where?
What? Who you calling a booty?
no!
tough. My timing is awful.
No, I messed up and I started back over. I don't like it. Ah.
Okay, this is.
Somebody hit it again.
Somebody hit the cube.
I'm already in the hole. I get a boat.
I keep going backwards.
Yeah, that's an issue. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I
Why
think so
can I not
too.
jump over this
Oh
wall?
my god.
I don't know. I'm waiting for somebody to hit the cube so I can jump.
There we go, finally.
Don't hit it now.
Yeah.
Don't you do it, ball. Don't you do it.
Do it, ball. Do it.
No. No, Rose. Evil squares.
Ouch.
I give
I
up.
found it easier to go up the right ramp. I don't know why, but
Oh, what? How did I miss that?
Come backwards.
I'm just hitting my mouse and not even looking at what I'm doing because trying is not working for me.
Well, trying is caring.
Winning is caring. Just kidding.
I don't
dang. There you go.
That's
There you go. We're making it.
Slowly but surely.
Oh no!
Slowly, slowly
The
but
last jump.
Rolls is not like.
Yeah, it would.
Like, I
You
want to
can.
roll it.
No, you can, artist. It's all good.
You see that pyramid at the base of the ramp on the left?
I'm at shot.
Angled off that.
Shot. Oh,
Hey, Michigan.
I'm 69, but I can't. I'm already hit 69. I'm gonna
Let's
be coming
see.
to 79.
Dang.
Hole in
darn it.
one.
You got a hole in one?
Yes.
Dang. I
I've had
got 2 strokes.
Full power and jump. That's
2
it.
strokes didn't earn me anything.
I would've been
Eagle
the
or
one that
nothing.
didn't screw it up
No
again.
parakeets.
no,
I didn't even know
no.
that was gonna work. I was just fucking around.
You get a parakeet or anything.
Oh, my rose.
Did you say, oh my rose?
I said, oh, my rose.
Oh my rose.
You got this.
Hey,
not
Ryan
It's a little left.
here.
Oh no, run!
Not Ryan.
Ryan.
Ryan is.
He's
Oh
just busting your
god.
chops.
We've seen both rains tonight.
I literally just got home, so.
Welcome home.
I got a hole
You
in
had
one.
to spend your quality time with us.
Uh-oh,
She's been
Tank,
out
I'm
partying.
talking to you.
Partying like a rock star.
We have
I'm not a rock star.
Oh, the hole's over there.
Oh, I
I went
hate
to the
this
other hole.
fucking hole.
Hey, come on, find the right hole, man.
I went to the complete wrong hole in that one.
Huh? I need to hit
Dang
it
it.
harder.
I need to play
I don't
this.
even have stream up. I literally
harder.
just joined Discord because I had Discord up.
Oh.
How do
Yeah,
you
we're not
do
that
anything?
special.
I did not hit that hard enough.
Well, that's the question I've ever made.
That works. Alright, the hole's up there.
No, that's too hard.
Oh, I'm glad I'm not playing this one.
That was not hard enough. I'm still
That was too
here.
hard.
Yes.
I hate this hole.
I know.
No, Steam, don't. No. Did Steam already download it? Okay.
Ah!
There we go.
I thought I was gonna get in trouble because Dalton's rating right now.
Why? You put me in the same spot.
Satisfactory. I'm like, oh no.
Satisfaction.
Can I just go up to the goal?
Need 4 for a hole.
It was
Oh,
Just forget this.
fine.
That doesn't sound so satisfying.
I forfeited that hole. That was just too crazy.
There we go.
Fuck
In, like
me.
a malicious way. It just gets really annoying because he starts lagging.
Please, just hit the freaking square.
And then
Why do that when I can just...
So me and Tank tied for the win.
Really? So,
Let's go. Fuck. Oh, there we go. 14 strokes.
I can't do it. I just can't do it. Oh gosh.
2.5 yeets. I
Gonna
think.
come over here.
no, it's not.
Out of the way of that.
I ran out of time.
I ran out too.
I forfeited.
You wanna run out of time?
Alright, y'all. I think that's
Welcome,
all.
artist.
I gotta sign off because I gotta work tomorrow.
Okay.
Bye, Lemon.
It's all good?
Bye.
Bye,
Good
Rose.
eye, sweetie.
I wanna see the kitties before you leave again.
I got a sister hat.
There's the
I
kitties.
got a halo.
Bye,
I gotta see the kitties one more
Lemon.
time.
Yeah, bye, Lemon.
Bye. Good night. Sorry, Lemon.
Who said
The door's still here. You're not going to bed. I just assumed you were, cause.
I just assumed that you guys were chained up
Oh
together.
jeez.
Oh no.
No, chains come later.
Oh no.
About that. Jeez, unbelievable.
We don't have chains.
Hey,
Hold on,
Chain-
this is why he
chains
wanted to
come
be a
like
cop.
handcuffs first. Handcuffs first every time.
I'm gonna
Well,
be
he
quiet.
was a cop, so I'm just saying. He knows how to use those properly.
Yeah.
Anyways, golf.
Are we playing golf or what are we doing here?
We're definitely
Had
playing
anyone-
golf.
We're
Oh,
talking
wait,
about-
not word. Yeah, I was
Yay,
gonna
we
say
can hear you!
Ryan.
Yeah, we're in on luck. Yep.
Anyways, go.
Alright, I'm ready. If everybody else is ready.
Oh, I gotta
Do
put
we
a
have
new hat
everybody
on.
in who wants to play?
Yup, yup, yup.
I have my new hat. We're good.
Believe so. Unless Shane, are you joining or are you done?
Y'all can go ahead. For some reason, like my on my new monitor that I'm playing on, like the game isn't wide, like it doesn't cover the whole screen. And I'm trying to figure that out. Y'all go ahead. I'll join in on the next.
Consider checking
Settings,
Yeah, the game settings.
and then make it borderless.
Yeah, settings and borderless, yeah.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. Mine's doing the same thing at the moment, but
Settings in like the game.
I'll sort that
Yeah.
out after.
Yeah.
The game.
Video, video options.
Yeah.
Uh huh.
Oh,
Go
fuck.
back out so I can walk through it. So I can look at it.
Is it the video options to full screen, and then all I have is full
Yeah.
screen and windowed. I don't even have a borderless option.
Oh, I thought, yeah, I think the game's just automatically borderless. Yeah, that's really weird.
Maybe it's full screen.
I fixed my one.
Jay, you joining?
Yeah, I'm doing so
Yeah, he
right now.
fixed it. Yeah.
So,
Haha.
I fixed my screen settings. It was the resolution that wasn't set right.
No pick on you.
Yeah, maybe try the resolution.
Mm-hmm. What'd you change your resolution to?
Oh, hold on.
I didn't even think about that.
I'd have to go back out and check.
Oh, okay. No worries.
I got it.
Yay!
I think that's
Solution is resolution.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Hold on. Let me get back in.
But I basically sell it to the highest it can go, so. Thank you, RTX graphics cards.
Yay!
It ain't a TI, but it still works.
So we were looking at dog names earlier, and we're going through like different mythological deities. And I don't remember if it was Greek or Roman, but there was a god called Nvidia.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I believe it's Greek.
I thought it was funny.
Well, name the dog that. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I'll
right.
call it a 40 series.
Mhm.
Mere 40 series.
Get over here.
Lady Rain.
Mm.
I believe you're right on that one. I think it is Greek mythology, that one.
I would hope I know. I love Greek mythology.
I don't know.
She would be the one to know.
You cheated.
Me, I just love history, so that's just me.
And she just calling me out.
Mm-hmm.
What is it the god of?
I
don't know.
remember.
Oh, I forgot to buy footballs.
I have no idea.
No, not Cerberus.
No.
Nvidia. Yeah.
No.
No,
Nvidia.
think it was-
Nvidia is a goddess, an equivalent to Nemesis.
Ooh.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
God-
personification of Nemesis.
Goddess
Okay,
of
makes sense.
retribution and envy.
Okay, when you said Nemesis, that makes sense.
Okay, yeah. So Nvidia is actually Roman, but yeah. Nemesis creep.
Keep giving it too much heat.
Still pretty damn close.
Yeah.
Oh,
Dang.
That's
Dang,
good.
pole.
I do like this hole though, the one before you get into the hole.
How many more days do I have left of streaming my stack up?
Pokecatch.
One.
It's
I'll
the
probably do Monday
23rd.
too, so I can get the whole weekend. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. About 6 more days of streaming with my charity stream.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, well, today will be 7, but because since I'm not really counting today, so.
Okay, if that works. Maybe not.
I
Not
have
even
already
sure.
raised $506 because I just got a $5 donation today. Yeah,
Let's see.
Every little bit counts.
it does. The minimum to donate is $1 because you get your name on a shirt.
Nice.
But next year, when next year comes, I am going to change it to something else. I figured maybe instead of having it on the t-shirt, have it on something else next year.
Mm-hmm.
Just to change it up and
Yeah.
instead of doing the same
Maybe
thing
you can
every
find
time.
like a poster and frame it and put it on your wall or something in your studio.
That's what I was thinking maybe, or just do like a pillow or something.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what yet, but it's still too early to
I would-
tell. So
I would be the dumbass to challenge myself to embroider
Ah!
pillowcase with all the names.
Oh, embroider? Holy cow.
I have a question for you.
Insane.
Do you hate yourself?
Eesh.
Oh, sorry, Mono.
Ah!
He spawned in as I was going. Oh, that was.
No!
I wish
That
I
was
could
my
post
chair
something
that-
in the comments, but I know
Michigan!
I can't.
That was my chair.
yeah. Y'all smack balls.
Wow.
God.
Hi, Joe.
Fucking Mono over here. Terrorizing.
14 strokes.
Oh,
I'm not gonna
the
make
part
it.
was
I can't get over this dang wall.
It's what you get for terrorizing me.
You started it.
He's mentally
I
abused.
didn't mean to.
Oh, that's what they all
You
say.
shot and you spawned it right in front of me.
I apologize, I heard.
Okay, okay.
It's what you
I forgive you.
better.
Better.
Oh.
So guys.
Oh, saw dude.
Oh, hi,
I'm
Jay.
sorry, Jay.
Just
I fell off the mantle.
it seems like a you.
Alright.
Right as I was shooting, somebody hit me.
I've got to go.
Oh.
No.
The wrong way.
Yeah, Kimono, do
Back
not.
on it.
Oh,
Okay.
I almost shot right when Kimono was coming in front of me.
Yeah, I'm just gonna follow Thor over here.
Yeah, it's not a good idea.
Yeah, I'm going to go this way a second.
Well, I only got a bogey instead of 11 strokes.
I'm a.
I got a bogey as well, so that's a plus.
Mine would have been better if somebody didn't freaking hit me.
I'm
Yeah,
spoken
Mono.
out.
What are you drinking, Rain?
Hard Mountain Dew mango.
Not enough.
Can you
Nice.
send some to me, please?
No,
Fuck.
I don't share Mountain Dew. Unless it's a new flavor I'm trying, and then I let friends
I'm
try
doing
it,
the
but it's
do.
fine.
I'm going to do the do.
So, sorry, Rain, we're just gonna have to get you the Sensei Ledoux shirt that says, "In case of emergency, my blood type is Mountain Dew."
Yes.
Okay.
So that's
My
all
blood
I
type is
drink. Alcoholic and non.
alcohol.
Oh my god, I got
Hard
to
and
get there.
hard and soft.
Yeah, there we go. I got it.
hard and soft dew.
Oh yeah, bet.
I don't even want the hard.
I have leg.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I really like the hard ones better.
My brain's not in the right area.
Wait.
That's what she said.
I'm drinking a Sam Summer. That's what I'm drinking right now. This is the second one.
I bought the new one. I haven't tried it yet. The new Baja Blast. It's a passion fruit punch. I have not tried it yet, but it's purple. So of course it's gotta be good. It better be good. It's fucking
No
purple.
shot tank.
Haven't been able to drink because your medication. That's understandable. At least you're doing a good job in not doing it. There are so many non-alcoholic drinks that are amazing, though. Just saying.
I know. Same.
There are
Yeah.
a lot of non-alcoholics. Yes.
We got a three-way tie for first place here.
I want this ghost to give me a good time.
Oh, yes! Yes, I can't believe that worked.
I fucking missed so badly.
Yeah, cause you hit me.
I followed Rain and it worked for me, but it didn't
Oh,
work
good.
for her.
I hope you like
Yeah,
it.
Tifa hit me.
stole
It is amazing. There's so many, like,
My bounce.
I like the bubbly and the Olipop and all those different drinks.
Lollipop, lollipop, ooh lollipop.
No, not lollipop. Olipop.
Yeah, there's a root beer Olipop that I love.
I still haven't tried that. I still only have the watermelon lime. Just the one.
Just
You didn't even
like-
drink the other one yet?
I haven't drank the second one yet.
Or did Dalton drink it?
I'm really just waiting for like such a hot day that I'm like, I need something refreshing.
A hot day.
Right.
And that the watermelon lime one is really refreshing.
Watermelon.
Malone.
I was thinking
Malone.
that,
Petals. Hi, B.
I don't really
got
care.
some
I'm just
mustard.
having fun. Full blast. Oh, that's too bad.
Bad baby.
Whoa, whoa. Hey, what's up, bro? Oh, whoa, you gonna hit me? The other guy hit me.
Sorry, Thor.
Ah.
Guys, I had to take a short puddles break.
Puddles
Oh, yeah,
break?
Piddle.
Did you go make a puddle?
Puddles. No, I
Did you
cuddled
make
the
a
puddles
puddle?
though.
Okay.
I cuddled the puddles though.
Puddles the kitty.
Yeah,
Oh.
cuddle the kitty.
Thor.
Gotta cuddle the puddles. Rip.
I can't get in the hole now. Thor
Oh,
blocked me.
leave her alone.
No. I'm having a hard time with this loop-de-loop.
Full blast.
I did that and it failed me both times.
Surely you're not doing
Excuse
it right.
me.
Apparently not. I'll try full blast again. There we go. I don't know.
Yay. Auntie Bat, come here.
What?
Come on, I'll get in the hole. Get in the
No,
hole.
I'm just gonna go backwards the whole time.
Have puddle butt.
Ah!
Kind of hilarious that he
Who has a
responds to
kitty?
puddle butt. Yeah, he's over here. He's on the floor though.
I feel like we would terrorize the neighborhood if we drank together. Probably. Watching Netflix and I'm changing everything with the Roku remote on my phone. Oh no. Oh no. And she's probably yelling. This dumb thing is not working right. What is going on?
That'd be some
No.
shit Dalton would do.
There we go.
No, I missed it.
Dang it.
I lagged.
No.
I got there in 2 shots.
Oh jeez.
Not too bad.
Alright, don't. Yeah, I was so close.
I got there in 3 shots. Or 4 shots, actually.
Not bad.
Dang it, I jumped.
Not bad, but ain't no 2.
There we go.
Mr. Big
No.
Brain wearing his brain on top of his head.
I got a par.
No!
I missed it a few times. I would have gotten it like in 2 shots.
The radius
There we go,
and
got it.
or Ona betrayed me. Did you see that?
7. I got double bogey.
Mono.
Is the actual term for
Uh-huh.
it, too.
Oh no.
I almost had to start.
I think it was
Messing
the
with
phalange.
Oh no.
No,
Nico, Nico, knee dash.
like, I bounced off of a forearm bone and it stomped me off.
Yeah, so
Poor Rose. Oh no. I wish I would give you a fly on the wall right now.
Radius is the outer one.
Ah, he's trolling Rose.
No.
Rolling of the bowling.
I don't remember.
Because you measure a radial.
Thor may not come back, guys. He may get murdered.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought.
Just saying.
I know how to do that. I can get my
That or he may
blood
come back
pressure.
with an ice pack
Yeah,
on his head.
pulse,
Or not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the pulse,
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I have a blood pressure cuff
I don't.
over here.
You would.
Yes, I would.
the
My
nursing
blood
thing.
pressure's probably through the roof right
no,
now.
you want to see my med? No, you want to see my med bag?
Yes.
He's got a whole duffel bag full of it.
It's a very shame.
A big crash bag.
3 shots, sorry.
So you came back in one piece, no ice pack on your head or anything.
Crossing off.
I'm proud of you.
Heck yeah.
Let's see here. Temporal thermometer. Blood pressure cuff.
There we go. 3 shots again.
Oh, you're so lucky, lady. I was just coming over.
Extra stethoscope.
Yes.
Gate
Can you
belt.
feel my heart?
Monica.
Pulse ox.
Rose, Mona's touching my ball.
I love Monica.
Shh! I didn't do it!
Anyways, can,
Oh my
can
god,
you
that
feel my
sounds so
heart?
disgusting.
I mean, it's a quote in here somewhere.
You know, I found a moth.
It's
I
it's
found a dead
54.
moth on the ground next to my car, and I picked it up and I took it to my friend Maddie because she likes moths.
Do you
I mean,
appreciate
it was
your
dead, but
Yeah.
it was
Well, I
it
lived
was
3
just so
times.
cute. I couldn't help it.
So you were always ready?
It was great.
Now, does that sort of stuff, Shane, do you keep at home, or is that do you have to take to work every day?
You mentioned Monica,
I
I'm like,
always
oh
think
yeah.
it's full power to the fucking goat.
I have an extra well.
I'm confusing you.
I do have
I got you,
I do have like my work stethoscope that I keep at work, but I do carry this bag to work and back with me because it has my stethoscope and my pulse ox with me if I need it.
Yeah, aim for the bookmark.
Maureen.
Right below the goat's
Well, that's
tail.
good though. That's good. Gonna start something.
What happened to my game?
I shouldn't have to. Yeah, no, I shouldn't have to carry any of that as a EEG tag.
No,
Gotta aim
no,
for
you shouldn't
Oh,
have to.
here we
but-
go.
I'm like trying to think, like, no, I mostly just sit at a computer.
No!
One day. Hopefully within, like, you know, before I turn 30. We'll see.
You can do it. You're already on the right track. You signed up for classes.
I know. There's so many prereqs I have to get out of the way, and then 18 months of the program.
Dang it.
I'll drink pickle juice right now.
It's a dream now.
You can do it. Do it.
Pickle juice.
Okay. My stream then.
Pickle juice and beer? That's gonna be gross. You knew which number it was.
Wait, have you never had pickle juice as a back?
Oh my gosh, Thor.
A back?
Yeah, picklebacks are different, but you can't pickleback a beer.
Why not?
I'm gonna start puking.
You
You
can't-
can
are you
pickle
doing
back
weak sauce?
anything. Okay?
I was gonna say, are you weak sauce? You weak saucing over there? You weak sauce?
No,
Apparently.
I Diet Coke chase now.
Oh god!
Fucking old man.
I drink beer like an old man. Just
That
Hey,
helps any. I think I've done
it kills
pickles,
the
like
burn.
a pickle back
Oh,
one
sorry.
time.
Oh.
See that? Well, I don't know if anybody's watching my stream right now, but here's the pickles juice.
You got it already?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Damn, she's got a side table of pickle juice. In her
I just
fridge.
posted it in my chat
Side table.
so people could get over there.
Hey, if people
Literally.
want-
Jeez.
I'm just kidding.
How much is in the jar?
A lot.
Oh my god. Oh, I made it to the wrong hole.
You should post something ridiculous though, like make people donate $50 and you drink the jar of pickle juice.
Hey, that's an idea.
Yeah, you shouldn't just do it for free. Yeah, you shouldn't do it for free. You should make it a goal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything's a goal.
I'm almost to my next goal. I can make it for my $600 goal.
Hell yeah.
Yep.
Do it.
Alright, let me get to this.
Say I'll drink a half a cup of pickle juice or something, you know, like a specific amount maybe. That way you don't have to drink the whole jar.
I love pickle juice though. That's the only bad part.
What was that?
Just accidentally drink the whole thing. You can't.
Me. Literally me.
I know you have a pickle.
I'm having all the issues here.
There we go. Finally got it.
What the heck?
I am
a little
the
bit off kimono. That's it. That's all you have to do.
Ah.
I love me
the
some
whole.
pickles and some tacos.
My sister loves pickles.
Pickles and tacos?
Pickles on tacos?
No, not on
Alright,
tacos.
I'm gonna go
No,
into
no,
my
not on
tacos.
tacos. I like pickles and tacos.
I don't like
If you
Well,
catch
who
my drift.
doesn't?
Oh no! Rain! Rain! Oh my god, Rain! Oh! Wow.
How do I?
Oh, pickles and tacos? Is that a talk
Yes.
for another time?
Yes!
Good lord.
She likes both. She's making it clear.
She's making it very clear what side she is on.
I'm biased, don't you know?
Alright guys, so my next goal now is...
You're a little bi-furious.
She
Yeah.
loves hot dogs and tacos.
You're supposed to say I'm a little bi-curious and then I
I
can get
have...
obvious.
No?
Yeah.
Hit the
Can I
thing!
post a link in your Discord? I mean your... not Discord. Your stream?
Yeah, go ahead.
This
about to say,
is
what
my
is it?
donor link drive right here. That's my place where you can donate money.
Come here.
Let's see.
I
I'm
don't
gonna
know.
play, guys. Give me a second.
I just spent it on a coffee.
Do you want me to
at the
scratch your butt
railway.
some more or not? Come here.
I think it's allowed.
Coming in.
Oh, it's not gonna let you. I forgot because Twitch has got it. It's set through Twitch, and it's not gonna even work with permit.
What?
Give me your
My
butt.
link?
There you go.
Yeah, it probably looks like it's right for you, but on my end it does 3 stars. I don't know why.
Oh yeah, damn it.
Go into
It's
the
Twitch.
Discord and put it in the
Yeah,
promote
Twitch
me.
being an asshole. Here, I'll send it to
Yeah.
you. Hold on, so you can actually send it through your.
Yeah, or promote and self-promote in
Send
Discord.
it, send it.
Yeah, put it
I'll
on
do
the
that too.
Discord server. Come on, T. I know.
There it is.
You love the butt scratches.
Let's see.
I do too.
Whee! Oh,
Sorry,
wow.
I forgot that Twitch doesn't like us posting stuff in other people's.
I know. You have to give
Yeah.
me a second. I'm playing a game. Damn it.
Sorry, guys.
Get the cat.
Oh,
That's the dog.
oh,
Give me the
pupper.
dog. I want the dog. I want the dog.
I
Give me
want
the dog.
that dog actually.
You can have him.
Give me
Where's the
a-
doggy? Where's
I'm
the
gonna go
doggy?
fly over there right now.
It's so fluffy.
Dang it.
I know.
He's something. He is something. I will say that.
Really is.
As
For
somebody
some
that
reason, it looks like 2 dogs to me.
Huh?
No, it's I can only see 1 dog.
He had me hold his rawhide bone so that he can chew on it. He's like, here, hold this. I want to chew on it.
Rain
Like,
sent me
fine.
a video of that.
I
It was a solid like minute. of that.
know. Yeah,
He's like-
he was just like, chew this already. I took my own video too, so I'll post it one day.
my dog used to yell, not yell at me,
Yeah,
but
so
would be
no, I actually
like,
posted it in your
don't touch my bone.
Okay, thank you.
in your self promotion.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Come here.
You're
Let's
welcome.
see.
I
Let me
know,
get this thing.
Yeah, like Dalton and I
Can't
both
post anything
warned
in there
Mono
except for just you.
that he was
That's it.
food aggressive, and this fucker just takes his bone to her to hold.
Yeah, I got warned. Don't mess with the dog's bone. Don't go near it. You know, if he's chewing on it, don't take it from him or whatever. And then he brings it to me. I'm like, what the heck? Apparently Apparently, I'm not a threat. Apparently, I was not a threat at all.
You're not a threat. You're definitely not a threat.
He's like, no, you're a servant. You're gonna hold this for me, is what he said.
Hey,
He's
get
like,
this
Oh,
one.
I didn't realize.
You're just the threat to Puddles.
yeah. He's like, you're gonna hold this for me instead.
Dang it.
Hey, can you hold this real quick? I have to deal with other things.
Legit though.
Here, hold my
Monty.
treat.
I,
Well, dogs
I'll
are
hold my
very...
beer, but my treat.
Dang it.
So what I'm probably gonna do is when I drink this pickle juice or something like that, it'll be I have to make sure I drain it out, because otherwise I get all those pickly bits in there. It's gonna be disgusting.
But
I'm
this
just
shit
trying to
doesn't
get back onto
hurt.
the track.
yeah. Oh, I definitely need more of that.
I like Rain's just generic ass ball.
What a loser.
Oh, why is it generic?
It's just white.
It shouldn't be.
Yes, I did.
No,
Yeah, it shouldn't be.
It's like green with tentacles on it.
Yeah.
It's green with tentacles? I see, like, blue with a little faint green on it. I don't even see the
Yeah.
tonickles.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I got tentacles.
But when it moves, it
Dang.
just looks like neon white.
Huh. Interesting.
Oh, that was dumb.
Oh, thanks, Jay. That helped a little bit.
You're welcome.
Oh my god, I didn't even. I hit
I
the
was
button.
kind of just stuck in that little corner, so. Wee! Ah!
Oh, too far.
Oh, hey!
Oh hey Tank, sorry. You spawned right as I was going in.
Son of a...
Double bogey.
There we go. Oh, hello, Kimona.
Hi! No! What the heck? Where did I go?
No!
Bogey, got it.
Oh! It still worked out fine for me.
There we go. My God.
Ah! Way too many turns.
I usually hate this hole because it constantly makes me respawn in the spider web. It doesn't do that with more thankfulness.
Yeah, but
Two more
I have
holes.
the fun task of packing everything up in my room. Full power! Oops.
Wait, where the hell am I supposed to go?
No.
There's a hole.
Down.
Son of a bitch.
Up butt? I don't know.
Well,
Yeah.
that is a different hole. But I'm talking about the hole that he's in.
Oh.
I can't even get over here to have issues.
Wait, what?
Anyway, story. You just
Oh,
have
what
to...
the heck?
Ah!
There we go.
Come on! I just want to jump down there.
There we are.
Oh well. That's fun.
Ah, darn it!
What was
No
that?
cursing. And what is that? On a 5-minute thing, I think it is?
Get in there,
Let's see.
Thing, or is it just you? Because we might be in
It's
trouble.
just me. It's just me.
Okay. Just say we
Ah!
I have to see how long it is. I don't remember how long it is.
Having
10
technical.
minutes.
Eh, I might get there eventually.
Eventually.
You sure about that?
Maybe. Ah! What the heck? This thing is rigged to throw me out no matter where I go.
No.
Rigged.
Like, what
I know, same. Same. It's I like to throw me out too, Kimono.
Jeez. Just whatever's happening. I don't know.
What the heck?
Did you guys see that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, okay, this
floor.
pumpkin is really stupid and I hate
What?
it. I'm going this way.
I clipped
You
through
hate
the
pumpkins?
floor.
Oh, this pumpkin's pissing me off though.
Well, put some
Son
eyes
of a gun.
Why is the pumpkin
There.
pissing you off? Just make it
He
into
hates
threaten to make it into a latte.
I know, but like I was trying to roll around the pumpkin and it wouldn't let me roll around.
Well, the
No.
issue is you should have not been round.
I just can't do anything. I
be
give up.
square.
Yeah.
I'm not being square because I don't fit into
Square can
boxes,
go around a
okay?
circle.
Are you a round peg in a square hole?
Okay, I'm finally up
I
here.
don't know. She might
Oh
be.
my goodness.
These are some deep conversations.
Yeah, don't fully eat that.
Anyways, a square can fit.
Unlucky time.
You
Mhm.
only want to fully eat it from the very end.
Yeet.
There we
To the
go.
crust stage. Ow! My thighs are sticking to my chair. I am one with the game.
I have a blanket I'm sitting on.
I am
the chair,
one.
so-
I sit on the blanket too.
I'm not sticking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I'd
I
excited,
hate
but-
sticking to the chair.
I can't
But
say
my
toasted
problem
is
is, my problem
There's
isn't even
so
like the
many.
sticking.
I'm a pro. I got last place. Woohoo! I owned it.
Did you say the sickening?
I owned last place. Purple raft achieved.
Oh, I got a red double tail.
Ooh.
I
Nice.
didn't get anything.
Well, where should I take
I
you
gotta
to
go
dinner?
walk.
I
dog
got a
real quick.
rock.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
Alright, go walk Dovo. Alright, we'll give her a minute. And then I'm gonna step to the restroom and then we'll probably play the last round of the night. Oh,
Yeah. I'm done with all these holes.
you're not gonna play the last round with us?
Yeah, I'm all holed out.
Oh no. Gotta wake up chat.
You gotta wake up chat. Why did chat? I didn't know you sing it a lullaby.
He was military helmet. I have that and so many others sitting around.
Run. You had to run again.
Oh, it's identical.
Identical.
I have to go pee, so.
Me
I
too.
recommend using the bathroom.
Oh. Yeah, that's important.
Oh,
Aw. No, I renamed my bathroom the litter box. It's official, so I'll be back. I gotta go find the litter box. I'll be back.
Please.
I found my poop.
Oh my god. You got those in different area codes.
Damn. What's your number so you can
What's my number?
No,
I was
no,
gonna
what's
say.
his number because you got told.
I don't even know what my number is anymore. I just use Snapchat.
No, it's 69, 69, 69. Or 84, 84.
No.
Oh, my credit card number? I can give you that
Oh,
one.
what's your social
Okay,
security
hold on.
number?
Hold on. Let me write that down.
Oh, Thor, what's your social security number?
Alright, it's 8440.
Oh, don't mind me, I'm taking pictures.
Oh, 42069.
Yeah. Alright, okay, cool. Anyways, no, I'm texting my mom.
80085.
Yeah, I'm texting my mom. But yeah.
Make sure you put 8,000 or 80,085 into your calculator.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm texting my mom, so I don't know.
Or no, it's the other way around, right? Because you got to flip it. No, it doesn't matter.
Anyways, cool. What's your address?
Oh, the street that I grew up on?
No, I'm just trying to get all the information. Anyways, what's your secret password?
Wow.
Who's your special friend?
Who's your special friend? This Joe dude. Okay, me? Okay, cool. Yeah, I was texting my mom this, long story. My bad.
Yeah.
Hold on, I just found out that I had a new bank account.
Yeah, and there's nothing in it.
Well, I did order some dresses. I don't know.
You ordered dresses?
It was a joke.
You gonna wear them on stream?
No, I won't.
Lots of socks.
Rose, Joe said he's gonna wear a dress on stream.
I did not say that. I'll be the ugliest girl here.
Rose wants to know what color it is.
Oh, blue.
It's blue.
Yeah, I bought it for about $300.
She said she's gonna wear one too, so you guys can twin.
Hell yeah.
I have a blue dress.
Oh, there you go. Now you can triplet.
I don't want.
What is this about blue dresses? Oh, jeez.
Oh, do you have a blue dress?
It's got flowers on it. Does it count?
Yeah.
It's blue.
it counts.
Okay, it's blue.
Now you're quadruplets.
Mhm.
Dude, hold on. I bought it off of your credit card, so I don't know what happened.
Joe said he's gonna wear a blue dress on stream.
No, with his credit card.
It's cold.
Oh
Momo!
It's blue and black.
I have to have black.
No, it's white.
Momo.
You shut your face. It is
Why are you not asleep, Momo?
And it's blue and black, and it's Yanni.
I have to have black.
Johnny Milani.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck.
Anyways, I bought it off yours, so it's gonna be like $5.
Monty made me run into the apartment.
Does that compute? No, it doesn't.
Boomies.
You had to go outside and have a massive time outside.
Huh?
Oh,
And then proceeded to have zoomies after.
Only
means
he
I had to run.
probably, so he's like, yes.
Yeah, oh yeah, they're poomies.
Yeah, exactly. I had a dog too, and they're super happy. Like, hey, I took a shit.
EXE 404. Adding to Betsy's now, though. Yeah, sorry. Nope, its gold does not compute. I don't know what you're talking about.
Huh?
Okay, y'all ready?
yes.
Yeah.
Start.
Oh, and
I'm here for support.
just in case anyone's wondering, the sun is currently coming up here at the moment.
It's already set here.
Thing.
You're a liar. It's dark out there.
The sun
What
is
is the
obviously
sun?
very set here, if you can't tell by the only light in my room at the moment is my computer. And it's my
Accurate.
soul decided to join us over
Yeah.
here.
We just thought you lived in a goth mansion, and it was just naturally very dark.
I would.
That was a little much.
Rain!
No.
What?
All the walls are white.
I had a hole in one that blocked me.
Yeah, I needed it a
Blocked
little
him for
much.
the opportunity.
So sorry, but I'm not sorry because fuck you.
Night, Mama.
Alright, well, okay. Just for that, I'll call you Ryan the rest of the night.
I don't even know.
Goodness.
Sunshine.
CJ did exactly what I did.
Somebody has an engine on top of their head.
That is Jay.
Night, night, Benjamin Stassi. Night, night, Mama. Sleep well.
Bye, Mama. highly suggest not fully eating it, but it's not that bad.
Enjoy the game in Steam.
Got it.
All the bots. There you go. Boop, Momo. Boop.
There we go.
Damn it, Mono, quit licking me.
No, you're the only one I like, apparently. Rose is in the other room going, what? What? Right? Boop. Mwah. Let's see.
So guys, when I play from my home, I'll probably have maybe a command or
Bite? Ooh.
so you guys can see my dog on stream.
Heck yeah!
Aww.
I don't get a choice on whether or not the animals show up.
I have to.
Who booped me?
You booped me.
Oh shit, that was too fast.
Yes, you get yourself comfy, Brooke. You get that.
Sorry,
Click. Momo. Oh, invite with consent. Okay.
I know my dog now, but
Not gonna run.
miles and miles and miles away from me right now.
Momo ran though.
I barely survived having my cat in the same city.
Let's see.
Like,
That should work.
she lived with my grandmother for a while when I lived with my mom, and I could barely handle that. I had to go see my grandmother once a week. So I had no
Gonna try. Nope. We're gonna try to lick Momo. Nope, lick myself. There we go. We got Momo.
Lick the Momo? Okay.
Yeah, you gotta lick the Momo.
For once I'm not being attacked.
Oh my
Like,
god,
no
that
one the
scared
one that's
the
like-
shit out of me.
I don't know if you saw that, but I landed on the saucer, and then I was able to jump from the saucer back into the place. Right? Momo! Stop licking me!
Alright, I'll take the splash.
Okay, about time, man. Jeez.
makes me happy that
Burn somebody instead then. Burn the bots. They don't need to be here.
That works.
I can't ever do that one.
Thank you for the hit.
I can't ever do that one either.
Well, I thought the air vents used to come on and used to help you, but it doesn't look like they come on anymore.
Yeah, I thought it was water.
Ah!
Like overflowing sinks.
No, you have
That's
to
that's the next one. That's later.
Flame retardant.
Yes.
Oh, I can finally see Rain's tentacles.
My brain's
My
alone.
god, what the fuck?
Something that I play now.
I mean, you've seen them in
That
real
was
life,
very
too.
aggressive. That was very
You.
aggressive and inappropriate.
For context, she has seen the
There
octopus
it
beanie
is.
that I made, because it's
Yes.
in my apartment.
I mean, look at her. You can see the eye. The tentacles have eyes. Look at that.
Yes, I do.
No.
Alright, I'll take that. I don't mind me that.
Where did you get that on the corrupted map?
I bought the pack
Oh, okay.
that came with the corrupted map.
Oh. See, look at it.
Corrupted map said I got the
That's so cool.
pack because it was like $2.
I'm sorry, it's the beer, guys. I'm really sorry.
Oh, add Kimono Rain. I can see your tentacles.
I don't drink.
Well, if you guys on my stream, I burped so many freaking times.
Okay, I got you. Sorry, Brooke.
Wait, what? Stop game! Thank you. No! What?
Oh God, Momo!
Enjoy stream. Good night.
Jeez! She scared me!
Oh, I had text haven't messaged in chat yet.
There you go. Yeah, Momo screamed on Snapchat and you screamed in chat about at the same time. So it was like all the screams.
Looks like Momo's frisky again.
You're right. Momo's frisky again and ready to fight.
Oh, right the hole. I didn't even notice it.
Puddles, leave her be.
Damn it!
Dang it. I did.
Oh yeah, the 10 minutes is up, so I can swear. So good thing I swore the time.
You made it. You survived.
I did.
I'm feeling kind of salty now.
Unless somebody else redeems it. redeems it.
Man, I'm kind of upset that my quote is not 69. It has to be 61.
Oh.
Well, now we just need to get 7 more quotes. And then you can go again.
Monty!
Oh no, Mono's gonna go shit in her corner.
Again.
Alright, bet.
Those tentacles are weird.
Shit.
It's a unicorn tentacle baby.
Ooh, I'll take that.
I'm sorry, what does that
Yeah.
say?
Oh, I didn't write it. She likes to go to the bathrooms in corners. It's weird.
I know! There's a comma there!
No, unsalty.
Keep me all moody. Not poop in the corner, but comma.
Well, commas are fake, so.
No!
No,
They're
you need
real.
commas.
Commas are important.
I don't read those.
Oh, thanks, Tifa. You slowed me down.
Oh, okay, I went through the bars.
Because I want to.
Oh my god.
Is
Are
everybody
you
in the
waiting
hole?
for Mono? No, Mono. Still coming.
I know.
I'm
it's-
trying.
Here she comes.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, I jumped in the
Do it for
hole.
Another 50 seconds.
No, I couldn't. I jumped in the hole.
Failed.
I did. Oh, look, 3-way tie so far. Like a 4-way triangle.
Ah!
Oh,
No
yeah.
way!
I'm gonna wait.
I
don't
missed
wanna...
it because I bumped you.
I feel like Cookie Monster. Artist feels like Cookie Monster.
And she heard her name, was like, what?
I'll leave it.
You're muted, Artist. You got yourself muted. She was stealing the phone.
I was muted. What was I saying? Why did I say
Yes,
I
you
felt like
were.
a Cookie Monster?
I don't remember because I think you were that's not when maybe you were making cookies on stream when we did that, or you were eating cookies.
I might have been eating like cookie dough. or
Alright.
something.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't remember.
I'm already drunk enough, so.
Yeah, I'm gonna get drunk.
I'm gonna have lemonade tea now.
Oh, hey,
Good
guys.
night.
I'm gonna clean myself out. I'm cleaning myself.
Damn it, Mono.
What? I didn't do it.
Oh, Atlanta.
I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't do it.
Oh, that's too
I
fast.
didn't do it, I swear.
Big!
I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I didn't do it.
If it's not on oh, wait a minute, it's on camera.
Yeah, if it's Mono, then yes. Oh, thank you.
I'm joining my tentacles with Shane's brain.
Oh, that's sexy.
Mm. Oh no.
Kimono, come on. I mean, English is hard.
Words?
You guys have to realize that I went through like a whole other group of shenanigans. Just as bad as that.
Cubone. Oh, catch Cuba.
Yeah,
We're
there's a
just
cube on
all-
in chat, guys.
Because that potluck that I had was with all my D&D friends.
So there's a lot of like some dirty stuff.
Ah.
Hey, you want a D&D?
Is that a?
Thor, you want a D&D?
That's code word.
Hell yeah, let's play some D&D.
Dork and dork,
That's-
okay.
Dick and dork?
Oh wow.
You meet me in the dungeon and I'll show you the dragon.
That was good. That was good.
Any day, man. Any day. You show me
That
the
was
dragon,
good.
I'll show
Oh
you
my
the dungeon.
freaking god, I just went flying.
Oh, hi.
Hi, come on.
Bye, Ryan.
Does that help you at all?
Ryan?
I was just trying to help.
I know.
I just
No one
realized
caught
which way to
Cubone.
go.
It escaped.
Oh, yes, it did escape.
Oh,
Back
fuck
on.
this hole.
Yeah,
I hate this hole so badly.
It's not the first time you ever said that.
Alright, I'll take that. See if I can make it over there. Fuck! Fuck! No! 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 Save it?
I barely saved myself. I was like on the very edge.
I'm scared to move. Everybody's bouncing all over the place.
I like your
I'm just-
boat, Thor.
I'm just gonna go back home.
Rowboat.
Hold on, Thor, you can roll me
I have
any
to go
day.
back home. Hi, Kimono.
Don't pop me.
Oh, I had to. I'm sorry.
She touched my ball.
That cute
Ball?
little
Okay.
rowboat getting you everywhere.
Alright.
Oh, I went too far.
I would have killed you if you hit me. You know what? I don't care. I got a par.
Ah,
That's
I
impressive.
messed up.
New record.
I got a birdie.
You should tell Rose.
Ah.
That's very impressive.
Oh, that was good work. Good bouncing.
Oh, I thought you were not gonna make it.
That was good bouncing there. I'm impressed. A double bogey.
Yeah,
Oh.
Kimono.
Shane's in the lead now.
Yeah. No more mono.
Nope. Saw that bouncing in the boat back there.
Yes.
Don't go off the edge.
So
Somebody
close.
knocked me off
Yeah.
the edge. What the?
No. I messed that up. Don't worry.
Oh my god. How did I get stuck back here? I'm literally in a crevice somehow.
It's stuck.
Wait,
wrong
what? I
hole,
wanna
man.
see
Wrong
yours.
hole.
Hacks. I used my hacks. I turned them on because I didn't want Shane to win.
You should get a hole in one.
I know he's still gonna win, but
Yeah. If you don't, then I'm losing.
how'd you get out, Shane? Did you hit reset?
No, I mean, I wasn't stuck. It's just like a tiny
That
little
wasn't
crevice
stuck.
that I somehow managed to get into.
I was just thinking which one it was, and like, I'm definitely not getting a hole in one in that one.
Me and Mono are tied. Let's go.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate this hole.
Yeah, I know. I needed a hole in one because then I could have gotten a 69 as my score and automatically win.
Yeah, that is an automatic win.
Yes.
Yes.
It
that
is.
not happening because it took me 6
Oh.
Well,
Can
69
I ask you-
beats the stroke,
Fuck it,
so
no.
if you have more
No.
strokes, then you win.
Oh.
Yeah, 69 is a trump.
Yeah.
Oh, you
Eh.
bastard.
Did I save it? No, I didn't save it. No.
Oh, too much.
Ah, fuck.
Too little.
No, shit.
Oh, forget it. Too close.
Okay, now the hard part. Don't you
Sorry.
Oh, I just don't do that.
Sorry.
I'm just forget it. I'm trying to see how many strokes I can get. That's my goal.
Saved it.
Wasn't that good?
Par 6 and it took me 9 strokes.
Man.
69.
Sounds like somebody needed to clip
Now
that.
you're reaching. Now you're reaching.
Yeah, that's a bit of a stretch.
That's all. That's what she said, though.
I don't know anything. I'm 13.
Well, no.
Wow.
That's a nice spot to hang out in. I like that spot.
Yeah,
Is it comfortable?
it's beautiful. You
And she's stuck there.
you found a
It's
a
not
good
resetting
crevice to hide in.
No.
No, she loves it.
Oh no! So you found a better one, and then you went back.
Get out of here.
No, it's gonna put you back in it. Oh wow! Where'd the map go? Whoa! Chain won! Congrats, Chain! GG!
J1. No, J1. Jay got
J1?
9.
Oh, he did win.
Yeah, that Trump's win. Yeah,
Woo!
congratulations on your win, man. 69 all
Thank
the
you.
way.
Any day of the week.
Jay over here being the true winner.
No, he didn't win. He finished too soon. He got 69.
I finished too soon. I only had 68.
Oh. Is that what she said? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
That is definitely what she said.
Well, like I said, 69 trumps anything, so.
I guess I need to make a whole new folder for all these quotes.
No, you don't want to copy anything I say. Because you actually might get dumb.
No. I'm saying like on my screen so I could just hit a button.
Oh, chat.
Alright. We have.
Yeah, it's okay. You can buy a therapist, but
I don't know. Thor, did you see what I added?
Yep.
I was like, I don't know if he saw it or not. Oh.
Oh, thanks for the quote there.
it's good to have a crow.
Yes, Jay.
A crow.
Crow. Yeah.
A crow.
Oh.
What?
Oh, I was talking to Puddles.
Anyway.
Alright, guys.
Oh, sorry.
You know what to do. You know what time it is. We're gonna do the
Time
things and
for
stuff.
Oh, well,
Time for no, that's after stream. You get a copy paste.
I think I went a little bit.
Me and my waffles need some alone time.
Yeah. That's in a different Discord.
I'm still gonna be on for a while, so. Have a good night, everybody. I'm gonna play something else.
You too.
Right else, sweetie. Good
Alright.
night.
Good night.
Ryan, what are you choking on?
Again.
I think I ate a little too much.
Yeah.
That's what she said, though.